Welcome to Whitty analysis of feature films and light entertainment podcast. I'm the one they call Billy.
And I'm the one they call Sean.
Damn, I thought I'd nick your thing and throw you right off.
Oh, no way.
Welcome, strangers. Come in and be our friends. We're on episode 5 now. We've done 4 of these. People are listening to it. It seems to be going well. We're splitting things up into individual sections. What to do, though, if you could do us a favour, everywhere you find us, like everything. Well, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Rate it 5 stars and then tell us what you really think in comments. Subscribe, like everything, ring the bell, do whatever you can to basically let people know that you're listening to us. Or let us know that you're listening to us.
That would be helpful. That'd be good. Yeah, just spread the good word.
We'd like that. So, yeah, how are you, Sean?
I'm good, I'm alright. Again, as per usual, something goes wrong on the day we record these. A couple of weeks ago, my internet vanished. 2 weeks ago, I had a bad throat. And today my microphone stand broke. It's happening. But yeah, I'm all good. How are you?
Nothing a bit of duct tape can't fix this. I'm grand. I'm just going to do something weird up top and say, I've been reading this.
What is that?
For the listeners, this is Mark Millar's Superior graphic novel. Very good. Picked it up for about $5. There's a monkey who comes to a kid with multiple sclerosis who can't walk and turns him into a superhero off of the telly. but there are some really good twists and turns, and it's like Mark Millar, he's always good at surprising you. Like, I'll be reading through something, I'm like, oh, this is so mundane, and so, ooh. So yeah, I've had that this week. I've also read a couple of issues of The Walking Dead, a couple of volumes of that.
No, never been into that.
I never got into I tried to get the TV series, watched one series, so the stuff I've been reading, that's why I went on a Superior, to get something a bit fresh and a bit different. The stuff I've read of Walking Dead is stuff that I've already seen in the TV series. I'm now up to where I got to in the TV series, so I'm now reading the comics afresh, which I think will be better.
Cool.
So yeah, that's been quite good for me. So, what we're going to do this week? This week, episode 5, we have got for you the Snyder Justice League cut thing. There's that. We've got to the end of season 1 of Snowpiercer, and what an exciting end it was. I can't wait to talk about that. And this week, in the best of the worst, we are doing a fan-suggested film, Skyline. We'll have put that in the notes for last week, so hopefully you'll be watching along with us. And
yeah, that's right, we have a fan.
We do have a fan, yeah. Yeah, really cool. Spins round on the desk. No, thanks for the suggestion. Sponsorship, this time for an ad. Let's do an ad. I'm sort of all over the show this week. I'm sort of trying to mix up the pace, but it's throwing me off more than anything else. So this week we are brought to you by Allen Keys. Oh, Allen Keys. Oh, well, they're not for you, are they? They're for Alan. So if your name's Alan and you're one of our listeners, then we've found your keys. Oh, they're great for everything, Allen Keys. Well, everything where you can fit an Allen key, they're absolutely shite for anything else. Let's be honest. It's not good for screwing things. You can't open doors. No. What key can't open doors? Well, monkey. And also Allen keys. Like I've got one sellotaped to the bottom of my bed, so when my bed's creaking, I can just get the Allen key out and just give that a little tighten. They're good for that. They're good for like putting stuff together. I bought a piano for my niece a couple of years ago, and that was all Allen keys. If you don't have an Allen key, you're absolutely knackered for things that need Allen keys. Nothing worse than when you get your screwdriver set out, you're like, right, I'm going to build this IKEA chest of drawers or this Argos thing. Other brands of things possibly are available. You get everything ready, like, right, let's go. And then you open up all the stuff, you get all your little bits in order, and you're like, well, this thing needs an Allen key. And I don't have one. So why don't you use our code, Allen's Keys, for Whitty analysis of feature films and light entertainment podcast. All one word, no spaces, and some of the letters are replaced with special characters. Like, all the A's are ats. You figure...
But one of them's a 4.
You figure it out, yeah. It's like Fant 4-stick. It's one of them. That'll do for the ad, I think.
Where did Keys get the name from? Did someone called Alan create it? Is that what it is? Or is it something I'm completely missing here? Because I suppose if his name was Don, you couldn't call it Donkeys, because people would just get confused. So it's like...
I have absolutely no idea. You know what? Live Google. Why are Allen keys?
And we invite everybody to Google along with us. If you're listening, just get on Google, figure it out.
So there we go. Why are Allen keys called Allen keys? Originally named Allen Manufacturing Company, the business produced a hexagonal set of screws and wrenches to fasten them. The terms Allen wrench and Allen key are derived from the Allen brand name. So it's like Hoover.
Yeah, jacuzzi.
Well, yeah, jacuzzi, yeah. Hot tubs and jacuzzis.
Kleenex.
Yeah, so it's like that. It's a brand name. So it genuinely are Allen's keys. So...
See, we're not just witty analysis, we're also education.
Well, we can Google things.
Hey, we've got to take the credit for it.
Next section. The film review section. This week in the film review section, we have decided to cover Zack Snyders' Zack Snyder Cut of the Justice League film that Joss Whedon did. Would you like to do a synopsis, Sean? Or shall I rattle something off?
You know what? Go for it, because I don't think I can.
Just so you know, people, what we do here is we'll give you a synopsis, then we'll give you a general thoughts, not spoiling anything. It's an old film, so we're hardly going to spoil it. But then we'll go into spoilers. We'll clearly mark it in the show notes, and we'll let you know when we're going into it so you don't get spoiled. So this is Zack Snyder's Cut. He finally made it. He wanted to make this film. He tried to make this film, and then tragic circumstances brought him off the project. Joss Whedon came in and fucked it even more than it was already fucked. And then they put it out in cinemas. We all said, no thanks, and then it went away. But there were a hardcore fan base who, went after it and said, right, let's bring this back and push for the Snyder Cut. And we have this. So this is... what we got? We've got Batman, haven't we? We've got Batman. He is putting together a team. He's looking around the world for all the superheroes, because what's just happened with Superman is that he's gone and died after the last film that they were in together. So Superman's gone and died. Batman's worried because there are threats coming and that sort of thing, so he's putting together a team. And who do you think he's going to find? Well, he's going to go and get Waterboy. He's going to get Wonder Woman, and there's some kid whose dad's mutated him into some sort of cyborg thing, and there's a really quick little lad from some city up the road. So they're going to pull all them together and try and battle Stephen Wolf with mother boxes. Is that a synopsis?
That is it. You know what it is? That reminded me of a lot of this film.
Just me going on and on and on and on, and it's all the same shit that I'm saying. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was bringing flashbacks. Pardon the pun.
So, what did you think of this film, Sean?
You know what it is? I'm all films can be as long as they want, if they're suited to be long films. This isn't for me. A lot of people have been very positive about this, and I just don't get it. Such is the beauty of films, DC's my favourite heroes. I mean, I'm into Marvel. Marvel's great. DC's great.
Aye.
I like superheroes. End of. Batman's my favourite. I talked the story a couple of weeks ago about Batman. I love Superman films. I love the Flash TV series. Really into it. I've liked Wonder Woman. I haven't seen the 84 yet. Given the reception, I don't know if I'll be in a rush to watch it.
I've never liked Wonder Woman. And I didn't like the one that came out a couple of years ago, so no rush to watch that one.
I like the original. Aquaman, I liked. It just felt a bit too long for me. But yeah, with this, it's just I want to like them so much, and I wanted to love Batman versus Superman, and I just found it a bit, And the Justice League, I was like, it was all right, it was cool. But this one, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to slag anybody off. Like I've said before, it's very hard to make films. Everyone does a great job. I just thought this one was a little self-indulgent.
You're being very kind by saying it was a little self-indulgent there, Sean. This was the most self-indulgent thing I've ever seen. I don't mind it though. Like, this was for me better than the Joss Whedon one.
The Justice League.
The Justice League, that's right, yeah. But I never want to watch it again.
I don't think I've got the time to watch it again.
I didn't have the time to watch it this time.
No.
But we did. I did watch the whole thing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
At the end of it, I just wrote in my notes, what is this? Because...
I wrote why.
Like, it's not a film, it's not a TV series. It feels to me like
What?
what Zack Snyder did was the studio said, Zack, can you make a Justice League film without all of the individual characters having their own story set up and just start them off? And Zack Snyder went, yeah. And the studio were like, why are you winking when you said that? Oh, I didn't wink. It's like, yeah, I can do it. Can you do it like in a normal sort of feature-length film length? Yeah. You winked again. Look, I mean, if this was what he had planned, he'd never intended to make this as a film.
Because wasn't it supposed to be released as like a miniseries? Like when it went to go on in America, obviously HBO Max.
This version of it was meant to be, aye.
This version, was going to be like 4 episodes. I think.
There's a lot. I'm gonna pull out some good stuff because I feel like we're gonna shit on this a lot. I think, but some of the good stuff for me is like the intro. Well, the first 7 minutes, I was like, I'm feeling the death of Superman here, and I never felt that because I thought they just rushed everything in BVS. I mean, it reminded me how much I love, this is a controversial one, how I love Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
Well, Man of Steel is one of my favourite superhero films.
Me too, I absolutely love Man of Steel, and I listened to that soundtrack that entire summer, I think it was 2013.
Amazing.
Hans Zimmer, it's just all percussion, it's all drums, and I absolutely loved that. That was on in my car. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. This made me like that less, because they used it too much. They used that score too much. The same that they used everything too much in this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So sorry, I was trying to do some positives. The intro, first 7 minutes, I was like, this is long, but it's better. I feel like I'm getting the story that I need to understand this film. Yeah, so that was a good thing. I like the way they developed the characters a bit more. I just wish they hadn't laboured everything as much as they did.
Yeah. Because I've heard people saying how, they could have still maybe knocked half an hour off it. I think they could have got rid of an hour and a half. And I know that's what the original was, wasn't it? Around about 2 hours. But I've got quite a few positives, to be honest with you. Some of them might be a bit spoilery, so I'll wait. But yeah, I mean, the introduction was a bit too long for me. I was like, get on with it, come on. And I did like how they did develop the characters. Some of the things we didn't need, but again, we'll get into that.
The thing for me is if you've seen the Justice League, right, and you didn't like that, it very much depends on what it is that you didn't like about that. Because a lot of the stuff that I didn't like about that is still here.
Yeah.
The way they do the action, I absolutely hate. Because physics don't seem to apply. Everything is a cartoon plasticine man like Neo Skittles in The Matrix 2. You know that scene in The Matrix 2 where he's in the middle of the park and he's knocking down Agent Smith's Skittles and he's just a rubber man with a stick? That's what all the action feels like to me in this. I don't know whether you liked it or...
No, I mean, some of it I did, but yeah, especially, I don't know what it is, but the Wonder Woman action, it does seem like a little bit individual to her, so I do like it.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird because I love Man of Steel, but every other film he's done in the DC universe, I don't like the colour sort of palette of it. Like there's just something about it that doesn't sit with me. And I like Zack Snyder. I like his other films that he's done.
The thing for me with this is Joss Whedon was brought on when there was a lot of this already done. I mean, when you've seen the Snyder Cut, they didn't really film that much more to finish off this film, and they've got 4 hours.
Yeah.
If I was Joss Whedon and I came into that and they're like, can you make a film out of this? I'd be like, I'll put something together, but
yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to make it all make sense. And clearly he couldn't, but that's because when he came in, he had this to deal with. And they're like, well, Zach's done this. And they're like, oh, fucking cheers, he's filmed 4 hours of a film that I'm supposed to cut down into 2.5 and make it make sense and make it be interesting. But like you say, like when you mentioned before, sorry, I'll go back to that. There is a 2.5 hour cut with an hour and a half of this cut out that I think would please me.
Yeah, I think something could be pulled out of this in a way that would, like, given that 4 hours, if they never would, but if they give me all the original bits, all the original files, there you go. I'd like to think, there's something in there. I mean, maybe someone a bit more talented than myself.
Release the Sean cut.
But there is something, I think someone could, even if Zack Snyder again, there's something in there I think I'd find enjoyable.
Yeah.
But we were talking the other week about how sometimes DC is finding that line between the humour and the drama. and can't seem to get that right. They're either really dark and amazing and serious like the Joker, or it's just balls to the wall mental like Batman and Robin. It's like trying to find that balance, and I think this film shows that. And again, because I've only seen the original Justice League once, so I watched it again before I watched this one just to refresh myself.
And how was that? Because I wasn't going to do that. I'm like, I didn't like it. I watched it twice in the cinema because I had a friend who wanted to go and see it. I'm like, I'll be a mate and I'll go and see it with you because I've already seen it and hated it, but I wasn't doing that again.
To be honest, I maybe shouldn't have done it because I watched them both in the same week, not the same day. Obviously, I've got a life. But I watched them both in the same week, and I think, if anything, I should have maybe watched Justice League last week and then the new one this week.
Right.
But because I'm kind of confused about what's in what and which one's in which film.
Right.
So,
did you watch the Snyder Cut in one sitting?
Ish.
You watched that,
right? I might have got like the first 3 hours maybe, and then
right.
Went and stretched myself and then came back to it.
So I watched it in 2 sittings. I watched the first 4 parts, and then I was like, okay, that's enough. I need to go to bed now. But I mean, would this have worked better as a TV series? Because again, when I wrote "What is this?" I'm like, well, what is it? Because it isn't a film. Yeah. It's too long to be a film. It's not even structured like a film. I just don't know what it is. I don't know what he was trying to go for.
People seem to be like, this whole thing about studio interference and all that kind of stuff, and it happens on every single film.
Well, studios should interfere because it's their film. Yeah. It's not interference, it's them managing the situation
exactly.
that they've got.
I mean, sometimes, obviously, because obviously when the hire directors and a deal's made and arrangements made, what film are you going to make us? Well, this is what I've got an idea. Yes, make us that, please. Sometimes, they can be like, change their mind, actually want this now. But that's not what you hired me to do.
Yeah.
And then stuff like that. But with this, I think they got it right. No, we need this to be a lot shorter because we don't know what this is.
I mean, there are good director's cuts. Sometimes a director's cut works. Yeah. And for the fans who wanted this, and people seem to be enjoying it, I'm really happy for you. It's really good. But that's enough of this. Thank you.
We've got this now. Boom.
Because I don't want them to be making more of this when they could be making other films with other directors in this universe or in a DC universe of some kind. Like, I don't want any more of this.
Apparently the Snyderverse is done with now. They're just going to go with the individual films and they're not going to interlink them, apparently.
It depends on what articles you read, because I've read this week that, yes, it's completely finished, there's nothing happening with it. And then Zack Snyder goes, yeah, but maybe I'll get just like a little HBO series.
Yeah.
And HBO need content.
Oh, yeah.
So it's perfectly plausible that they might do it in there. And I don't begrudge them that. If fans of the Snyderverse, want to carry on watching stuff and they put a bit of money into that as like a side project and they just whack it on HBO, that's fine. I could just not watch it. That's not a problem. But I don't want it to be taking film real estate that could be otherwise populated by films that I might be interested in.
Oh, of course. And the thing is as well, what I found funny is like for years now, like there's been a big movement of like the Snyder Cut, release the Snyder Cut.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't ready until like a few months ago. So that's why we've got it now.
Yeah.
Because the edit he had wasn't finished. It wasn't special effects, visual effects, all that kind of stuff. And they had to reshoot some stuff. And they went back and filmed again. And so it's like, well, even if we wanted to, we can't release it because we don't have one. It's like there's a skeleton there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the detail, but they did put, what was it, maybe about another 30 million into this?
I heard it was something like 75.
Right.
But again, whatever it was a lot of money. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you want to talk non-spoiler before we jump?
There isn't anything for me, I don't think. No. Just probably wrap up non-spoilers and just say, this is a really long thing. And if you really are interested in it just as a sort of thing to do, then watch it. But if you don't have any interest in this, it's not going to turn you, I don't think. No. It's not going to do anything for you.
If you're not a fan of the DC universe, you're not going to be by watching this.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it already, don't bother. Exactly. Because if you were interested, you would have watched it, wouldn't you, by now? Let's face it.
Unless you're doing it for something like this.
Exactly.
I wasn't going to watch it, to be honest. But...
I know, this is my fault. I do apologise. But it is just something everyone's going to be doing it. So, Right, so spoilers?
Let's spoil it.
Okay, so my spot... Is a trident really a trident when it has 5 prongs?
It's a fork. Or is it a fork even? What is it?
It's not a trident anyway.
It's not a trident.
Or is it a trident in brackets?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Is it that? It's like it's
Snyder,
a trident.
yeah. But yeah, because I thought that. Like, I've never noticed it before. I don't know if it was the same one in Aquaman. I can't remember. I don't know if you had one in Aquaman. I don't know.
He did, yes, yeah. I couldn't get through Aquaman again. Aquaman was one of those things where different director. I thought this could be interesting, and it was just a fucking lot of film.
Yeah,
Like I was 40 minutes in, I'm like, there's a lot of this,
yeah.
and I don't like any of it, so I'm just going to switch it off. I wish I'd gone to the cinema to see it because I would have sat through and watched it.
Yeah,
but because it was on the telly, I'm like, you know what? I can just go to the other room now and do whatever else I want to do. That's up to me.
I was decorating the house, and someone who was at the house at the time put it on because I wanted to watch it, and I was putting wallpaper up, and I thought, well, yeah, I don't want to watch it yet, but that's fine. And then it felt like I was decorating the room for about a week, and it was still on. Did you rewind this? No, it's still going. I'm like, oh. And I watched the end of it. I thought, I might want to watch that again. I don't think I did. But,
No.
but I do love the look of Aquaman. He's always been the kind of butt of the jokes, but he's a badass.
He is a badass. I mean, like I quite like the new 52 Aquaman. I haven't got any here. I do have some other comic books that I'm going to show you as we go through. But like, I do like the new 52 Aquaman. I think he's a weird concept and difficult to get right. And when we talked about how are they going to do the hair, how are they going to do the speaking underwater, and the way they did it, I'm like, that was a bit crap on it. But in this, he's not really Aquaman. He's nothing to do with Aquaman. They're all just indestructible, flying, whizzy things.
Yeah.
They're all fast. Like they did do something better in this one with individual power sets and things like that. Right. Batman has a load of cash and he builds a lot of things, so he uses all of that stuff. The Flash has to push through time and things like that, which I don't think he did in Justice League, did he?
Did, no. Well, that's what I'm saying, because I liked certain parts of the development, because I liked that. Mm-hmm. Like, they all had to do a bit more, and we dived into them all a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But, well, not a little bit, it was too much. That was the issue. It was, especially Cyborg. I love what they did, because I wanted to know more, because I didn't know anything about Cyborg in the original.
No.
I was like, I want to know more about this kid. But I was like,
not that much.
Yeah. You want to tell us what he had for his fucking lunch next?
I want to know more about him, but I don't want to know it 3 times in the same film.
Yeah.
You can get it from context. There's a way of doing this where you give everyone 1 or 2 scenes to establish the core of their character, and then you move on and you do it. And it's done well, and really good films, really well edited films, really well directed films do that. And this just laboured everything and repeated everything. That final shot where they've won and they stood on top of that cliff together.
Yeah.
It pans round and there's about 7 or 8 of them that same shot.
It was just a bit relentless.
I was dizzy with the panning cameras as well. Like everything happens in a circle. It's like, stop moving in a fucking circle. Put a camera on someone who's talking and let me watch them.
There's another bit that I did like.
Mm-hmm.
I did like some of, how Superman's just a badass. I liked his black suit.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how when he arrives with, as you call him, Stephen Wolf. And I like how when he goes to stick the axe in Cyborg, when Cyborg's doing the whole bit at the end with the box thing.
Uh-huh.
And Flash is running late, even though he's the Flash. And Superman just pops up, and I can't remember what he says. But you'd expect, in a lot of films, he might be like, block the axe with his arm or whatever. He just stands there and bounces off his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And he says something like, nah, not today. And he just says something. And he's just like, yeah, you're a badass Superman. That's what you should be like.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like Zack Snyder's Superman. I like you said as well, Man of Steel was one of my favourite things. When that came out, I thought, we're off to a good start here. I was one of the ones who absolutely loved that film. And then I liked the intro to Batman v Superman. I mean, I think I showed you the comic book the other week. When they announced Batman v Superman, I bought the Dark Knight Rises, the comic book, the Frank Miller comic book, Dark Knight Returns. Sorry, the Frank Miller comic book, to read that, because I knew that line that Zack Snyder announced at Comic-Con was from that book, and I'm like, right, let's get that book and let's read it. Let's see where they're coming from here. And he does do a lot of stuff well. It's just I don't really like what he does. I liked his Watchmen and things like that, but I love Ben Affleck as Batman, but he's so fucking boring in this.
I wouldn't say boring, but I think he's a bit too... It's Bruce Wayne. He's very sort of like boring, I would say. I know it's technically the same person.
Yeah.
But when he's Batman, he's Batman, he's badass.
He is, like, Ben Affleck does everything he can with the material he's given, I think.
Yeah. I do wish we got his own Batman film.
I know, yeah. The thing with me as well, I don't know where Batman fits. I mean, they did a better job of weaving him into this team here because he sort of sets up the team and he makes all the machines and stuff like that, and that's quite cool. But I don't know where... They can all just fly and power through buildings and get hit by anything and it doesn't matter. So I don't really know where Batman sits here. And I didn't really see a lot of them getting pushed back. You did see a lot of them getting beaten by Steppenwolf. Yeah. Which I thought made him a bit more threatening. Because in the Justice League, I didn't care about him.
He didn't look... I think with all, like, Again, I don't want to badmouth anybody. Mm-hmm. It's better than I can do.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Visually, I hated it in the original, in the Justice League. He looked like a cartoon. He didn't look good.
I think everything looked like a cartoon, and some things still do.
His face a little bit. I like how they put like that breathing suit of metal armor on him. That was quite cool.
That was cool, but I didn't know it was that. So I was like, is that a tail, or is it clothes, or is it a back penis?
Yeah. Or well, he had a front one.
And is that horns, or is that a helmet? Because I couldn't tell. Yeah. I knew it was. I sort of thought it was armor, but there was that flappy thing at the back, and I'm like, "Is that a penis?"
But even like the bits on the shoulder just kept like flopping at times, and like.
I suppose it's just a more advanced technology, I think, is what it is. But it led me to ask, what is nudity in this universe? Because Cyborg comes out and he delivers his like Hulk line. It's like, you know what my secret is? I'm always dressed, and he takes his coat off. And I'm like, well, you're not the way. Are you nude? I don't know. I don't know what nudity is anymore.
Is this the new nude?
Can I replace half my body with a machine and then I'm no longer ever nude?
Yeah. And if so, why are you wearing a hoodie?
What if... I don't know how much of his was left to him, but what if it was just like his head and his penis? Would he still be allowed to go out like that? Yeah. Would he be allowed to deliver that line saying, I'm always dressed, like, put your penis away, mate. Yeah. Your face, we can handle. The mechanical body, okay. But you've still got a functional penis and we can't be having that. Yeah. Sorry, that was my tangent, wasn't it?
I'm just seeing the wrong film now. Oh man. But no, honestly, it was one of those things where it was just like, I get it. You're finally making the one and showing us the one you wanted to see, you wanted to make, but even you've got to see this is a bit much. Like, and if they released it in, again, obviously it's streaming, so if we want, we can watch it in snippets. We can watch it and break it down into 4 parts and watch it that way.
This was maybe our fault for watching it all in one sitting or 2 sittings as I did.
So maybe if I do decide I want to watch it again, then I'll probably do it that way. But it was annoying because I was liking what they were going for. Like, I wanted to know more about the characters, and I was finding out more about the characters. Yeah. I was just finding out too much. Because I wanted to know more, because I didn't know anything about Cyborg in the original.
No.
I was like, I want to know more about this kid. But I was like,
not that much.
Yeah. You want to tell us what he had for his fucking lunch next?
I want to know more about him, but I don't want to know it 3 times in the same film.
Yeah. And maybe that's because they wanted to shape up a bit for Marvel. We'll give you the group film, and then we'll show you the individual films. Cool.
But yeah, like you say, I've always pointed to Guardians of the Galaxy when we ask, can you just come out of the gate and do a team film? Yes, you can. You do think, I mean, that's perfect. Rocket Raccoon. You have a little conversation between him and Drax, and Drax's motivations, why he wants to kill that Ronin guy, all about Rocket Raccoon's experimentation. He's sort of like the Wolverine in that situation as well. He's been abused, he's been passed around, he doesn't know what he is anymore, his lack of identity. Yeah. One scene, you get that in with Guardians of the Galaxy. And that sets up 2 characters perfectly. You get a heist scene and a bit of banter with Star-Lord and Gamora chase scene. Bam, you know who they are. That's all you need to do.
There's a tree that just introduces itself every time it talks, and we know so much about it.
Exactly. So it can be done. You don't need to do the individual stories, but it's like Zack Snyder said he could do it, but then what he really wanted to do was do what Marvel have done and do individual films to set everyone up.
And maybe that's what it needed, or like you said, it could have been done that way. Either way, we've got what we've got, so that's fine. But I do want to see. I would like to see just Ben Affleck on his own film. And apparently, for a while, he was going to co-write and direct.
He was,
and
yeah.
I was all.
Well, I mean,
was all
Chris
up for that.
Terrio. He's worked with Chris Terrio loads. They wrote Argo and made Argo together. That's where they sort of came together. And then he brought him on to. Did he bring him on to Batman v Superman? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd like to see. Just give him that. Just give Ben Affleck and Chris Terrio what 80 million. Just give them that. Let them go off and do Batman.
Sure
we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind that.
But even though we're getting the Robert Pattinson Batman, I'd still like to see the other one as well. Let's have them both. We've got the Joker on his own. We've got two Jokers technically at the minute.
Audiences aren't idiots. We know what's going on.
Exactly.
All you need to do is say, this is not part of that universe, or here's the you've got the Joker, you've got the Jared Leto Joker. There might be a different Joker in the Robert Pattinson film. So I'm just trying to think of the Themyscira thing. I noticed something online that people were saying that's much more fleshed out and much better. Do you think that? Because I don't.
I mean, it was definitely different.
It was longer.
Yeah, it was longer.
Like anything when people said, oh, this is better because of this, I'm like, well, it's longer. Is it better?
Yeah.
Is length all you want? Because I can't help you there.
It's the same way like people think if something's darker, it'll be better. No, not necessarily.
No.
Comedies are great, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the whole like temple-y thing fell into the sea in the Justice League.
No, yeah. And I can see them making that sacrifice because they trapped a load of Amazons and they all died and it went into the sea and it still failed.
So, I mean, I like that aspect of it. Again, well, that's the thing for me for this one. Not a lot of it was necessarily better or worse. I was just getting the same, but a lot longer. That's my issue with it. Because, like I said, I've been repeating myself here, but I loved how we got to know more about the characters. But it was far too much. Because I wanted to know more, because I didn't know anything about Cyborg in the original.
No.
I was like, I want to know more about this kid. But it's like,
not that much.
Yeah. You're going to tell us what he had for his fucking lunch next.
I want to know more about him, but I don't want to know it 3 times in the same film.
Yeah. And again, everything was a bit long. Like that scene, it was good. And there was aspects of it that were good, but it was just a bit longer. I am struggling to sort of, because I was thinking, wait a minute, what's happened here? Because Stephen Wolf went into the sea as well. So I was thinking, oh, well, maybe we're getting a bit, because obviously he does hop back up and he chucks a horse around and stuff like that. I think that looks pretty cool. He's freaking badass. He picks up a horse like it's a freaking pebble. But then he does turn up and he just does the same thing. So, I was kind of like, oh, that was a bit... We just went back to where we were. The
thing for me with that action, that all of that action is that it just looks like a computer game. It looks like a video game, so I'm not invested in it. But there were some times where I thought, especially the end, was like, I sort of care about these characters now. Because we've been through a lot together, me and them. We've just sat through 4 hours of a Justice League. It's finished and somehow there's still 28 minutes left to go. That's what I was thinking as well. But, we've been through a lot more together, so... I am more on board with the characters, and therefore the action does mean a bit more, regardless of whether or not I like the action. But I always say that, if I care about the characters, then I'm into the action. If it's just action for action's sake, then this was a balance of both. I think there was a bit. I did care a bit more about the characters, so therefore I was invested in that, but not really that much.
Well, I want to get your ideas because I know me and you went to watch Suicide Squad together.
We did.
And I was the only one who was quite positive about that when we came out of it.
I've never seen it since. I didn't like it. I didn't like it the first time, so... I loved that trailer, though. The Comic-Con trailer.
Yeah.
I started a joke that started the whole world laughing. That was great.
It was brilliant. What I was going to ask you was, what did you think of the Joker scene in this?
Well, yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into the whole fucking... Right. Oh, this fucking thing. I've got no notes on it, but I absolutely fucking hated it. We'd finished the film for a start, right? I'd sat through this whole fucking thing, this whole fucking indulgent thing that Zack Snyder had done, and fair play to him, all power to him. Well done. You made the film that you wanted to make. Now leave. No, I'm going to hang around for another 28 minutes. It's not like a post-credit scene. It's a post-credit fucking... mini-film.
Film.
This thing. And And another reason why I never want to see anything more from this fucker is that he is starting to ruin one of my favourite comic book runs, and I got these out to prove it to you. I fucking love Injustice. And that was possibly the worst rendering of Injustice I've ever seen. And if that's what he wants to go on and do, then no thank you. Because I want this. I've wanted Injustice to be made into a film for a very long time. But I do not want that Injustice.
See, I've never read them. I kind of want to now. But what annoyed me about this scene, because again, I'm one of the rare people that I liked Jared Leto's Joker because it was different.
I might have liked it if he was in the film. But either film, if he was in Suicide Squad or if he was in this, I might have enjoyed his performance.
He should have been in more of Suicide Squad. That should have been the film. He should have been the villain. Simple as. And I loved his portrayal in this. I liked how it was a little bit different. It was a bit more reserved, and he does seem completely unhinged. I like what he's going for, but that's what's annoying me because it's not in films that. Like I said, I've got a soft spot for Suicide Squad, but I'm under no illusions that it's not an amazing film. It's got its problems, of course it has, but I wish there was more Joker. And I loved the dialogue in this.
I liked a bit of the dialogue, but they do it 3 times, like in every fucking talkie scene in this film. They say everything 3 times, and I know that might be a bit rich coming from us.
Yeah, but it's okay because our title. And abbreviate it, it's waffle. So that's what we do. That's why
this
we get
shouldn't
away
have
with
been
it.
Called the Snyder Cut. This should have been called the Snyder Length or the Snyder Additional Stuff because nothing was cut from this.
Nah, but like I'm saying, I like the dialogue. I like the tension between. I like the chemistry between Affleck and Leto was great. I like that little scene. But what the fuck was the point in it?
I think it was, to be honest, I think it was just it was just. Zack Snyder's like, right, they're never going to let me do any more of this. So I've got to get everything out that I want to get out. And I really wanted to do Injustice after this. And I don't want that for him. As much as he might be a nice bloke and all that sort of stuff, I don't want him to do that because I want someone else to do Injustice in a different way. They might fuck it up as well. But what I can guarantee from looking at this is Zack Snyder is not going to make anything that I want to watch.
So he's give you a little snippet, so you give a bit of a warning. So that's a good thing, I suppose. You know that if he does do one, you're probably not going to like it.
I did hear someone complaining about, or people complaining about Deathstroke in this. I didn't think that seemed to be difficult to follow. There was a post-credits scene where Lex Luthor gave him some information about how to find Batman, and then in the epilogue, it's in the future, and it's Injustice, and Deathstroke is on Batman's team. If you read this, it's about Batman going to different dimensions to get all the superhero counterparts so they can fight each other. Batman basically figures out, Superman's got a team of super beings, I've got to go to other dimensions where this isn't the case, and get the counterparts of those people who've teamed up with him to fight them.
And I like that kind of stuff. I like they were touching on a wider universe, that's great. I like the sort of like the back because there was great because one of the I can't remember, is it one of the old Atlantean king? How they go back, there's like the Atlantean king, there's the old human king, and there's all the other when they do like the flashback bit about the original.
Oh yes,
the ones who originally got rid of Stephen Wolf like all those many years ago.
That battle scene was okay. It was cool to see a bunch of superheroes, but when I was watching it, and again, I shouldn't do this. But I kept thinking back to portals from Avengers Endgame, and I'm like, nothing's ever going to be as cool as that because I actually cared about every single person coming out of each one of those portals. And it looked cool because I was invested, and I couldn't get invested in this. If you're going to show a cool battle scene, show a cool battle scene with all of the characters that you've set up. Don't just cut to a historic battle scene with no one that you know. What's that? It's nothing. That's what it is.
I've always learned doing the stuff that I've studied and things, how sort of less is more. And you don't need all this sort of backstory and that. There's jokes about, some actors, some old-fashioned actors, like, I can do all this with a look, I don't need all this dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, well, you could have done that. It's like, why do you need to be so blatant with it all? You're skilled people, and I'm not saying he's not skilled, because he is skilled, but it's just, you can do so much with a lot less.
Yeah, I mean, that thing that you mentioned just there with the thing of a look, I think we'll probably get onto talking about something like that when we come on to Babyteeth later on, when we review that.
Right.
That's a completely different style of film. I mean, the battles in that are shite.
Yeah, and the flying. Hey, definitely. I was going to say, you can do it all in the writing and the directing. You can show and tell so much by doing so little.
It seemed to be written in a way that I didn't have any faith in what the actors were going to do. Everything was verbal. So they wrote everything out in dialogue, so that nothing could be misunderstood. It's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, actors can do it. But then they had a really good stable of actors here.
Yeah. Well, you look at the cast list, they're all freaking great at what they do.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, Ezra Miller needs to catch a break. Spoilers for Fantastic Beasts, the Crimes of Gay Wizard Hitler. But he's a Dumbledore, and everyone hates it. And spoilers for this. He's a Flash, and everyone wants Grant Gustin from the TV show to be doing it. Even though Ezra Miller in this is really good, Grant Gustin wouldn't do a better job at this.
No, they're totally different Flashes. Even though they're both Barry Allen, but they're both, they're very different.
I'm not saying he would do a bad job. I'm just saying he wouldn't do a better job than Ezra Miller's done.
No. And it just shows, like, you mentioned two of Ezra Miller's films there. The characters are so different, and he's so good at both of them. He's so good at that in-your-face kind of funny acting, like as Barry Allen, and he's so great as, what is his character's name, Credence.
We need to talk about Kevin.
I've never seen that film.
It's really good. It's all acting though.
For a quick second, I was like, "Who the fuck's Kevin?"
It's really acting. It's very acting.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's an acting film.
Yeah, but Ezra Miller, he's great at everything I've ever seen him in. I still don't like Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with, her physicality and everything like that. But I love that the studio have stood by their choice in casting her. Despite pushback, like we were saying the other week with Batgirl. Oh, she's not big enough. She's not strong enough to be an Amazonian and all that sort of stuff. Look, they've cast her and they stood beside her. I don't think she's the greatest actress. I don't think she shouldered that film very well. I'm against the consensus on that because most people think that she did a really good job in Wonder Woman. So that's just me.
I'm kind of on the, here's our disagreement. I think she's fine. I mean, I don't think she's amazing.
I think she's good in this, though. Like, in stuff like this, she fits well in the team and she's good enough to hold her own with these actors, which is something quite... No, that's a compliment in itself.
But she's not been acting that long.
No.
And obviously I'm guessing she didn't train it. She might have had lessons since, I don't know. I hope so, because you're always learning, you're always studying, you're always in the earning, you're keeping that business. Even Oscar winners need to keep having to think and learn and learn different things every
one thing I forgot to mention, we were talking about actors. So Jeremy Irons' Alfred, I think, is great.
Great. I like him as Alfred.
And he got more to do this time, which is good. He's more of like the Oracle and the chair sort of thing of Batman, so that was cool.
Yeah. I did like that, because that's one thing in the originals. Like, you're introducing all these people, and J.K. Simmons is
Commissioner Gordon. I still don't think he got a lot to do, but I think he might have done.
Yeah.
I would like to see him more. I'd like to see J.K. Simmons all the time in everything. So, how would you sum this one up then, Sean? Or have you got anything else to say about it?
No, to be honest, I'll just sum it up as, again, just disappointed. I don't really care about cinematic universes. I would just like standalone a trilogy of Flash films or whatever. You don't have to mix everybody up, and I think DC and Warner Bros. Are sort of slowly edging away from the shared cinematic universe, which I'm fine with. But at the same time, if I'm going to be given a Justice League film, I want it to be fun, and I want it to be, again, when it came to Batman and Superman, how can you fail with Batman and Superman? And it's just, it didn't work. They're just not fun enough for me. And personally, I don't get what I want out of it. If you could bring that sort of funness and epicness and just decent storytelling that Marvel do. And I'm not a Marvel, blower or a DC blower. I like superhero stuff. But I'm going to call a spade here, and Marvel are doing it better. And that annoys me because my introduction to superhero stuff was all DC. But I'd sum it up as it was disappointing, it was boring, it was far too long.
Yeah.
And it didn't engage me.
We wanted to have a bit of a disagreement, and here's one. I disagree about Batman and Superman needing to be fun, because having gone through a lot of the comics and things like that, there can be serious ways, and I love the Dark Knight trilogy. So there are ways of doing this well and making it serious.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't mean because the Dark Knight trilogy is not a lot of fun, but it's rewatchable. But with this, I just can't. I do want it to be a bit more. With the Justice League, I think more could have been fun than Batman and Superman. Justice League, it's a big team going up against a big team of monsters.
Well, for me, I mean, I have liked some of this. I liked Man of Steel. I haven't liked anything since.
Loved it.
That series of films that Zack Snyder has done, they make sense. Superman, through BVS, and into this, they all sort of make a sense. There is an arc there, sort of thing. I'm glad he managed to do the cut that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because of the tragic circumstances that pulled him out of it. He did this. He's dedicated to his daughter who passed, which was the reason why he left the project. That's nice. People have been asking for this. Fans have been asking for this. Some of them in quite a bad way, so fuck all you lot have been nasty to people. But to everyone who just wanted to watch this film, I'm glad you've got what you wanted, and that's really good. But this needs to end now. I don't want any more of this.
It does.
And I don't want the studio to get the wrong message from people liking this and saying, oh, we need to go this way. Because they will.
Yeah.
And other studios will get the wrong message from this. And I don't want any more of this. Next section?
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Welcome to the TV series review section.
Yay!
We're here. We made it, Sean. We're at the end of Series 1 of Snowpiercer. Series 2 is finished now. But we're at the end of Series 1, and what a ride on this train it has been.
Spoiler alert, fucking loved it.
Yeah, I did too. Shall I knock out the rapid refresh for episode 9?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a timer? What do you think we should go for this time? Because we've been knocking it out in quite good time. I think this one's a bit longer.
Well, I was going to say go for a minute, but if you think it's going to be longer...
Stick a minute on the clock and I'll go. If you clocks at me, I'll just continue anyway.
Right, we've got a minute. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, rapid refresh.
Okay, so it's episode 9, The Train Demands Blood. We open on a monologue from Melanie, and it's about disposal of Wilford and best laid plans. She blames the train for demanding blood. Death by lung of ice. Nolan is mobilising, and he's gassing about gassing everyone. Leighton is feeling the death toll, and there's a game of Chinese whispers with the strong boy. Nolan wants power, but Ruth wants his face! She wants his face, and I can only assume that they've now conceived the Antichrist. My name is Luke Skywalker, and I'm happy to rescue you. He rescues, what's her name, Melanie. Leighton throws in the towel, or does he? Melanie does Die Hard. What the fuck is LJ up to? And then there's a load of team-ups. Melanie teams up with the Rebels. Nolan teams up with Ruth and the Foglers. Bennett Man and Miles Wonder team up at the front of the train. The teacher and the first class guy, who doesn't really have a name or a character, really. He just doesn't like the Foglers. That's his thing. The plan is to uncouple the jackboots. Leighton volunteers to pull the thing out of the thing. There's a bit of a ruckus. And Leighton makes the hard call and has the train. So close.
Oh, well. I didn't want to interrupt because I was enjoying that, but yeah.
All right. That was on the last line. I got to the last line. So then, what do we think of this one, Sean?
Brilliant. It's honestly, again, spoiler for my thoughts on the next episode. There's not a bad episode in this.
There isn't, is there? No. I'm glad, that's why I really want us to watch this, because I'm like, I think Sean's going to like this. Haven't seen the first series.
I want more people to be aware of it.
Yeah, we were saying this just before. The amount of people that have said to us, either, I've had to skip this bit of your podcast because I have not watched Snowpiercer, or you've made me want to watch Snowpiercer. That's the only feedback we get.
Yeah.
on this. It's like,
So
yeah, I wish more people had seen it.
it's honestly, it's just, even though now we kind of still figured out what's kind of happened now, we know what's what, we kind of know who's who now. Same kind of questions pop up again. What is Melanie thinking still? Even though we kind of know what's happened now and we know the motivation.
I did, like, you could tell what was going on when it was like the executioner. It's like, the executioner's going to rescue Melanie. I can see this coming.
Yeah. That lung of ice, so what a fucking way to go.
I know. I was thinking, can you just not breathe in, but you just freeze your face off and you...
Yeah.
I don't know what you would do. Would you breathe in for that? Would you go, right, and just get it done, that's it? Or would you...
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I'll never have to find out. So,
I had a couple of questions, though.
Right.
If you look at the episode list, the episode 10 title is a spoiler for this episode.
I was going to bring that up before we started recording and completely forgot about it. Yeah.
Like, what were they doing with that? That is the death of Qui-Gon of this series, I think, isn't it? That's like...
Yeah. But I suppose when that was released, though, they might have not have released the title until the episode was...
No, they didn't. I mean, each episode was released weekly, so I watched it weekly as well, so I didn't know this. So.
I've never mentioned this, but that was spoiled to me, like, episode 2, because I looked on IMDb.
And the other one is, why doesn't Leighton just uncouple one car back rather than uncoupling that one? Like, you just go to the back of that one and uncouple that one. It's just pulling a thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's always down to things with this, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm trying not to give too much away, but yeah.
Well, we're in spoilers. Oh, this is all spoilers, isn't it? We always do all spoilers for this. So.
Oh, can we be?
Sorry, yeah. When we do this series thing, it's all spoilers. So, I mean, if you didn't guess that, I've just told you everything that happened in the episode. The thing is, with my rapid refreshes, if you haven't seen the episode, it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure out which cars they were getting rid of, because I was like, wait a minute, where are they? How's it done that? What's going on here?
Yeah.
It took me a while. But I'm right in thinking they got rid of a middle bit, and then they joined up with the end again, didn't they? So yeah.
That's right, yeah. So they got rid of basically like the Nolan and the Folgers and the classroom. Yeah. There's no school anymore. Yay, school's out.
Yeah. I'm a bit worried the Folgers not going to be brought back.
Yeah.
I was really happy, but you don't see them die.
You don't, and that is the rule, isn't it, in film and TV? If you don't see them die, they can always come back. And that train wasn't far behind them. You know, could they have just coupled onto the back of that?
Big Alice. I love the name.
But they've got all the jackboots, so all the jackboots are gone. So the plan was to uncouple all the jackboots, Nolan, so there is no army now.
I did like the realisation when Leighton found out he was going to have to get rid of a lot of the tailies.
Oh, yeah, aye.
That bit was like, because I was shouting with them, "Where's the key?" I was like,
I was with him there as well. I was trying to think of something funny to say about that, but there wasn't anything. Melanie knew as well. Melanie set him up for that, and he's like, "You knew I'd have to come." So like, I knew you'd have to make the call. But then he's proven that he can make the hard calls for leadership, and you know, that was sort of his initiation and proving himself to Melanie. But damn,
honestly,
some of the people in there as well, you know, I think what happens with Melanie is that by seeing Leighton having to make that hard call at the end, you sort of realise that Melanie's life for the last 7 years that they've been on this train has just been a series of those hard calls. And having seen Leighton make that decision, you sort of see how difficult it is to run this train.
Yeah.
I think they were really clever to do that.
Yeah.
With that character.
Definitely.
Again, like you've said many times before on this, they've written all these characters really well, and they play them against each other. They play off them and they move them around in such interesting ways that it's really good to watch. It's really interesting to watch.
Because one thing that gets me, and like obviously I've had my issues with a lot of the characters because I've just hated them, a lot of them, and it annoys me to watch them sometimes. But that's what makes them good.
Yeah,
that's what makes them good characters. Let's go to Old Faithful. Fuck you, Ruth. Because again, one thing I noticed straight away in this bit, they're all sort of talking about, we've got to do this, we've got to figure this out, blah blah, blah. And she pipes up, "We need to talk about Melanie's execution."
Yeah,
everyone's talking about we need to do this for the benefit of the train. Someone suggests another thing, which is the benefit of the train, and she's like, "We need to kill her." And it's just like, and even one of them says, maybe we need to think about this. And she's like, her face straight away. It's like, no, we need to get rid of her.
I mean, if they have conceived anything during that intercourse session that she had with Nolan, nothing good can come of that.
Oh, no. Nothing good will come of that. That's a scary thought.
But then again, you did feel for her when they're uncoupling the trains, and you're like, she's just fallen in love with Nolan, and now she's lost him.
Well, that's the thing, is she's kind of on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she is on her own, and you do kind of feel for that in that way, but she's just blind to the greater good.
Yeah.
And she's just too stuck in her ways, but refuses to even think about anything else. And it's even to the point where they're talking about, oh no, I'm jumping ahead.
What I was going to say as well, one thing I missed out in the rapid refresh is Leighton finds out he's going to be a daddy.
Yeah. Who is the daddy? Him.
What a terrible situation to find yourself in just as you're about to send yourself off for an execution.
Yeah. Talk about bad timing.
But that is, I mean, at that point in it, he's ready to give himself up to save everyone in the train,
Yeah.
And he's sort of like, well, I've procreated. Goodbye. Yeah. But the thing has become less about Leighton as well. I mean, he's very prominent through everything, but there's so many other characters that you're interested in. Like any other series, you'd have your few mains, wouldn't you? But there isn't a character that isn't into, apart from that guy in First, who was just there because he's just there to voice that not all First people like the Folgers.
Yeah, I could have done with him earlier on in the series.
Did you enjoy the gun thing? Teachers taking a gun into a class?
Oh, right, yeah.
Little commentary on gun violence in America there.
Yeah. I like that. I'm liking Roach, how he's like, even though he's sort of like, he's just going with the flow, but he kind of still has his own sort of, it's just him. He doesn't really play one field, really. He's just kind of like, he knows what he likes and what he doesn't like, and he kind of gets what they're going for. It's good, but it just works at the minute. And he's like, yeah, they're bad. Yeah, okay, I'll do my job.
And this whole thing was like a lesser of two evils, wasn't it? This whole episode was like, yeah, cutting off those 4 cars and killing all those people is a terrible thing to do. And some of them innocents that were chained up as prisoners. Well, maybe not innocents, but depends on how you view that. And doing that, that was horrible. But it was better than gassing each carriage systematically and killing everyone until you got rid of all the rebels, wasn't it? So,
yeah. And you could argue with the whole fact that, like, they're getting rid of all these people because they are in it for themselves. And, like, even the ones, like, the Folgers are in it for themselves. They only care about themselves. They want, especially Mrs. Folger, she wants to be in charge. Like you said last week, she wants to be, like, the figurehead. She doesn't want to do all the dirty work. And then you've got Nolan, who is on their side only because he wants to be in charge.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell he's itching to, he's got his own agenda. And then Ruth's exactly the same. Mm-hmm. She's only on their side because she wants to be in charge.
They've all spotted this gap, haven't they? And they're like, I want to fill the Melanie hole.
Hello.
Sorry, Jennifer Connelly.
Yes, sorry about that. So yeah, they've all got their own sort of, they're only agreeing with each other because they see it as a shortcut to them being in charge. Mm-hmm. And no one even says that.
Yeah, aye.
Like, he says that to Ruth, we'll be, Mr. and Mrs. Boss pretty much, is kind of what he says.
Exactly, yeah.
But he knows they need the Folgers for their influence.
Did their accents get stronger in this episode?
I thought that, yeah.
I felt like Nolan went way more Irish and Ruth went way more Yorkshire. I was like, what?
Especially when he says Mr. Delatore.
All right, yeah, aye.
Speaking to Javi, I noticed that. I was like, what did he say? I rewound. I was like, that's what he says. But it was really Irish.
It was when they were in Melanie's quarters as well, and Ruth was raging about, look at all this stuff. It's like, listen, Ruth. Calm down. Yeah. She can't see the wood for the trees either, can she? She's another Osweiler. She's like, she can't actually see the situation because she's so entrenched in the rule book that she can't think beyond that. She wants the order back.
And I was trying to figure out, why does she hate Melanie so much? And I think it's just because she wasn't letting in the secret. I think that's pretty much what it is. I don't think she's annoyed for the whole... Yes, the whole point of it is, like, it's against the rules, and she's so entrenched in the rules that none of the rules make sense anymore, and they're not what she thought they were. But I think she's just purely annoyed because I was going with it before. We need to talk about Melanie's execution, but there's so much more important stuff. But she just wants this woman gone. I think she was like, she thought she was her friend. She was her confidant. She thought it was her and Melanie against the world. It was they were. It was their train.
I think it's a bit. I think it's a bit of the rule book thing that I was talking about. But I think you're right. I think it's a betrayal that she feels from Melanie. Yeah.
She's just gutted that like she's been lied to all this time, and again, obviously, she's totally freaking crazily obsessed with Wilford.
Yeah.
That at this point, obviously, she thinks he's dead and gone. And that's playing on her. And I think it's just everything's been a lie. Mm-hmm. Everything she knows is a lie, and she can't hack it. And that does make you a bit of, maybe our fuck you is not as aggressive. It's like, oh, fuck you. Yeah. Instead of,
I suppose it would be difficult, though, if the rug was pulled out from underneath you, wouldn't it? We'd all sort of experienced that. And like we were saying last week, you'd all kind of want to stick to what you know because it's more comfortable. This uprooting is not easy for Ruth. And she just lashes out. She's like Wanda. In one division, she's just lashing out because she's grieving. Her entire belief system has been pulled out from under her, so she's grieving everything that she's ever known, I suppose. Did you like the Batman and Miles Wonder or Bennett Man?
Yes, I like that.
I thought they were quite cool because they started off with a bit of tension, but Bennett. Yeah. I thought Bennett was going to just kill him or something.
I thought that, yeah. Well, he threatened him.
Yeah.
He was like, sit there, I'll chuck in the compost pit.
There's a lot of composting to get done in this, isn't there?
Because he said something like the first thing he pretty much says, you little shit. He's like, you let them straight in, but at the end of it, well, okay, stop jumping ahead, Sean.
Should we move on to the next episode? I'll do the rapid refresh and we can talk about the whole series, can't we?
Yes, let's do it. Hold on, let me get my timer started.
I'm getting a bit emotional now, the final rapid refresh of Snowpiercer before we move on to next week's endeavour.
Yes. Right, are you ready?
Okay, I'll compose myself. I'll get through this in a minute. This one is as long as the last one. So,
right.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3, rapid.
Episode 10, 994 cars long. It opens on a monologue from Melanie again, and its announcement about choices, and 994 cars long ends it. The rebels have the train. Miles away from Josie. Leighton is selecting for the Constitutional Convention. Finally, a real brothel, but Pike's in charge, and that's minging. LJ is not having a nice time. Harvey has got the train on. Autocorrect. Harvey has got the tranny on, and Bennett is messing around changing the channels. Melanie likes trains more than children. There's not enough lettuce or love in Jinju's greenhouse. Ruth is back. Survivors? LJ and Oz, now that's a pair. There's another train. Ruth is mad with glee. There's a cartoon train rape. This would disturb Tommy Tank fans. I have no words for whatever the fuck Ruth and her army of children are doing. Melanie cuts ties with Bennett. W or M? Melanie's daughter is Wilford. And what's Roche going to tell his wife now? I realised when I fucked up halfway through that I wasn't getting that in a minute, but
you probably would have hit that.
If it wasn't for the autocorrect, I'd written down Harvey has got the tranny on, and autocorrect changed it to train. I should have just wrote radio. What a thing. So I've never noticed that before, but W for Wilford, turned round, is M for Melanie's daughter Alexander. But it's M for Melanie, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, part of me hopes this isn't the case, but Wilford's going to be her dad.
You reckon? I think there's something else going on here as well, because Melanie and Bennett's willingness to go that extra mile to stop Wilford coming back, something else has gone on between them and Wilford.
Yeah.
Other than what we already know. Because leaving him trackside and stealing the train...
Yeah.
We could understand that, but
yeah,
something else. They really don't want him back on this train. They really will. But I suppose Melanie was talking about in the previous episode's monologue, she thought she would get rid of Wilford and all of his rules. So maybe Wilford is just this control freak that has all of these rules about societal structure, and that's what she was trying to push through in this.
Yeah. Because to me, what I got was like how she was kind of like, no, what you're doing, you knew it was them. We could have got away. And he's sort of like, yeah, but we need that train for the, Snowpiercer's not going to keep going. it's it's fucked. We need their supplies. So Bennett was a bit more willing to risk it to get what they need, sort of thing. And then, but Melanie was all sort of like, no, we don't know what they've turned into in the last 7 years. We don't know what diseases they've got. She just wanted to be away. So I'm guessing she does literally think her daughter's dead.
Yeah, she definitely thinks her daughter's dead. Yeah, aye.
So she's got no idea she's there, or she would have been all for hopping on that train.
But she's stuck outside now. She fell off the train.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah.
When they start fucking each other, the two trains.
Well, yeah. A bit of train-on-train action.
That's it. Yeah. I wonder if that is a branch of porn that I've never heard of.
Hey, the internet's a weird and wonderful thing. There'll be something.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a Tommy Tank having a Tommy Tank.
Over another Tommy Tank.
Aye. I don't know, that sent my mind to some weird places, that cartoon train.
Speaking of cartoon, though, I do like how the very last thing we see, it turns back into the animation.
Yes, and the first episode of Series 2, I saw started on animation again.
Nice, I like that. I like how that bookends it.
And there's something we were talking about last week that you'd mentioned, I think, about, how did they get rid of Wilford? What happened there? It was trackside and all that sort of thing. And I was thinking, well, when you think back to the first episode, look at the chaos that was going on with all the tailies trying to get on and all that sort of thing. So
definitely.
Maybe a Wilford just stood at the side of the track knocking on the side of the train wouldn't have looked that weird.
Yeah. He would have just blended in with the crowd.
Yeah.
It might touch on that. It might flash back a bit on Series 2 and we might see a bit of that. One thing I will say, and I'm glad you didn't say it in your rapid refresh, obviously LJ and Osweiler are getting together. You see the big cross behind them? They're a fucking match made in heaven. and they are. They are a match made in heaven. They are perfect for each other.
Well, I mean, like much as I said, like in the last episode, I don't think we really touched on it. What the fuck was she up to sending her parents down? She's like, you need to be doing this. And what a terrible time of it she was having. Like, who wants to ever go on a first class bed? She's like, this is my home. Like, no, it's not, LJ. No, it is not.
But I love that scene between Osweiler and LJ when he's got his salt as his sort of bargaining tool. She's got an egg. Yeah. And she's like, what do we open it with?
How do we peel the skin off?
Yeah. And he's like, you don't know how to peel an egg? But I do love his line. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'm a bad egg too. And it's like, they're going to be Mr. and Mrs. Bitch, aren't they? They're just going to be... But I'm loving that.
I was thinking about what you were saying earlier on in this series, and I thought, you know what? Maybe they are just two misunderstood people who are a bit different, and LJ's been indulged a little bit more, and Osweiler's had a bit more free rein to do what he wants. And maybe under normal circumstances, they'd be okay. He wouldn't be extorting people for blowjobs and paracetamol, and she wouldn't be cutting off penises left, right, and centre. She wasn't allowed to do everything.
They're both obsessed with penis.
Are they? Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah. He's obsessed with getting his sucked, and she's obsessed with chopping them off.
Liking a blowjob isn't necessarily being obsessed with your penis.
You know what I mean, though? They've both got a character trait fixed on that area.
Aye.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, so I suppose that might... In many ways, they're perfect, but I think there might be a bit of crosswires if it comes to that with them too. If they get a bit romantic, I was like, wait a minute, whoa.
I was really sad for... there was a lot of breakups in this episode, wasn't there?
Yes.
It started off with the biggest hit was Jinju and Bess Till.
Yeah.
I was like, that really just wanted them to... Why can't they get past those differences that they have?
Yeah, and there's simple differences when you think about it as well. They're not really...
They both want the same thing.
Just
Well, they both want different things, but they want it in different ways. Yeah, maybe they should break up.
Yeah, maybe they should, yeah. They want the same outcome, but they're going about it different ways. But
they support different sides, don't they?
And
I suppose that the issue was they weren't honest with each other.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to get. Yeah,
from the off.
But yeah, and I do like how Melanie's... I think with this episode, you're kind of getting that she gets it now. I hope she's not lying. I hope she's not manipulating. But she seems to get it right. That's it. My reign's over. It's a new train. She whacks on her overalls and she goes up to the engine room.
I think that's all she's wanted to be. You've seen Game of Thrones, haven't you?
Yes.
It's like when Jon Snow rides off to the north at the end.
Right, yeah.
He's free in that situation. He never wanted to be king. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much Melanie. She's just... Her and Bennett can have the little dalliances whenever they want. Make sure Miles isn't watching. Harvey'll just, well, he's got Miles to talk to now, so that's a bit better for him.
But that's what I think I picked up on. Obviously, I didn't realize that's where it was going though. But on the first or second episode, when you see her take off all her sort of like business clothes and just whacks on a hoodie and sits down, has a bite to eat, she just seems so relaxed. She literally lets her hair down, she unties it, and she seems more relaxed. And I think you're right. That's what she's wanted all along. Ruth again in this.
What? What is Ruth in this one? Like, this is...
She's fucking lost it. She is obsessed with Wilford.
4 pillows to the breeze, I would say, in this one, isn't she?
She's a gate without the hinges.
She's like, hospitality, we need to be up front. This is what we do. We're hospitality. This is the rules. And Leighton's like, look, remember the rules? They're gone now. Yeah. But we're making our own rules and we'll have you here with us. That's fine. But then she's just cutting in and she's trying to be in... It's quite pathetic, actually, that fur coat and stuff. It's like the
kids singing the Wilford song. And to begin with, I was thinking, what the fuck is this? I thought it was kids from the other train. And he was going to pop out with like a choir behind him and he's all grand. And then I saw her marching down and I was like, oh, fuck off. And it was just, honestly, I was like, it was cringy, but in the right way. It was meant to be.
Oh yeah, you weren't meant to enjoy those children singing, were you? Children sing some of the creepiest things in the world.
But I love how Roche was like, he's like, Ruth, enough. He just yells at her. And he's like, enough.
I know, because he's like, he has power, but he doesn't flaunt it. He doesn't really want to. He's sort of like your nice boss, isn't he? He's like, I just want to get by, have my sandwiches and go home and tell my wife things.
That's what I was kind of getting at with the other episode. He just does what he has to do, and he doesn't really, I don't think he cares either way. Yeah. It's his job, and he'll do it, and he knows what's right, he knows what should be done, but he's very realistic.
Point of inquiry, though.
Okay.
What is this supply train? Why did no one else know about it? And is it supposed to be a supply train to fix things on the train? And is that why Snowpiercer was fucked? And it was running out of time? Well,
I was trying to think of that, because I was thinking, if the newt was there, why hasn't it been with them all along? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they make it a massive fucking train?
I think it's because they only nicked that one Snowpiercer. Yeah.
But didn't they say something about it was like a prototype or something, or it was sort of like a...
Meant to be Big Alice is what they call it, isn't it?
Yeah, Big Alice, I think they've called it, yeah.
So like Thomas the Tank Engine, they all have names, isn't there? There's a one called Alice in that.
Yeah,
giving things a Google, live Googling on the podcast.
My son collects them.
All right.
I don't know if
is there an Alice?
I don't think there is. There's an Emily. There's a Nia. There's a Young Bao. I don't think there's an Alice.
I only remember the very basic names. Alice and Mirabelle, one of Duck's coaches.
Oh well, there we go.
So there is an Alice, but there's not a Big Alice. I don't think. No.
And I think if this series was called Big Alice, I don't think I'd have the same sort of...
Big Alice, yeah. It doesn't really describe what's going on, does it? I'd like Series 2 to be called Big Alice, though, because already no one's watching this. I'd like them just to name the second series Big Alice to really confuse everyone and lose the audience that they already have. Like you say, though, it's brilliant, this series.
It is. It's so
and everyone should watch it. I mean, you're not listening to this, are you? So there's no point in us saying this. Because let's face it, you're not listening to the second half of a 2-episode spoilers talking about the 10th episode of a series that you haven't watched. So we're not convincing, by doing this, we're not convincing anyone to watch it.
But in the future, though, if it does take off, because let's face it, some shows take a while to kick in. Mm-hmm. There has been a Series 3 announced, which is cool. Mm-hmm. So hopefully in the future, when it kicks off and the audience builds up, folk will come back to this. So in 3 years, 4 years, how he's doing, what's it like? Are we allowed to lick people again?
I've licked everyone. I've been around the world and I've licked everyone. So I want to see Wilford, though.
Yeah.
Like, we know Sean Bean is in Series 2.
Yeah, they wouldn't get his voice if he wasn't going to be in it.
I mean, but see, when you were getting excited about, like, you knew Wilford was coming sort of thing.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the series, I'm like, I know he's not coming at all this season, though, Sean. You think you know something, but you don't, Sean.
Well, I don't think I knew. I just... I didn't know. It wasn't like I was thinking, he's got to be. Like, it's Sean Bean. Why would they get him if he's not going to turn up? But yeah, that's cool. It's cool that he doesn't.
Where do we stand on my theory or your theory? Mine about Wilford being God and this being the afterlife, and yours about this being the Polar Express. I don't know which one's more viable
now. I hope, like, your theory makes sense, but I hope it's wrong.
Yeah, cool.
I hope it is just a post-apocalyptic situation. Yeah. And there we are.
I don't think there needs to be anything supernatural to it. I think they play with religious and spiritual ideas as much as they play with political ideas and societal ideas and anthropology. They play with everything.
I'd like to think my Polar Express thought turns out to be real. It's not going to, but I'd like to think the train stops one day and there's like just this massive town.
I would love that.
And elves and stuff. Another thing I was going to say was, like how's it going to be resolved? Obviously, Melanie's on the deck. The train can't be sat still for too long, or people will start to freeze and die.
Yes, I don't know how that works, but that is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I do like going back to obviously Ruth marching down with the kids. They've both got a good idea, right? Leighton, everybody's like, this could be bad. We need to be ready for a fight. You think it's Wilford? Ruth's like, it's fucking Wilford.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's welcome them. And yes, that's a good idea as well. They've both got good ideas. But I like how Leighton kind of figures it out. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So come on, Ruth, you and me. I'm not going to be able to argue with this lass. I'm not going to be able to get her to like...
We'll just have her here and we'll sort it out when it comes.
But then when it's like, when the girl walks through the door and Leighton's like, who are you? And Ruth's like, welcome to Snowpiercer. And it's just like, part of it's adorable, and part of it's just like, oh, give it a freaking break, Ruth.
You're the worst, Ruth.
I love her face though when the lass asks for Melanie Cavill, and her face, is Melanie Cavill alive? And Ruth's face is like,
well, she was. I don't know what she's up to now. I mean, that's another thing actually I just completely forgot. I was going to talk about something else, but it just popped into my head. Her and Bennett, she cuts his pipe. They've had a big parting of ways. That's them done pretty much now, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a big element at the end of that series.
Yeah, because obviously she was annoyed that him sort of hiding the signal, because obviously he had his idea of getting the supplies and stuff and getting what they need, but she was like, no, we need to get away from this.
I quite like the imagery of that dominant Big Alice clamping onto the back of Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
And they're all there, like, we're going to get an army and everyone's there. And then the door turns round and they send in a little girl. I think that's great.
Yeah, brilliant. One thing I will say though, and it's not really a negative again. I wish I could give more negatives because I am very positive about it. There's not a lot I don't like about this.
I haven't really found anything. I mean, that guy in First who doesn't really have much of a character. Big whoop. Every series has characters that aren't fully fleshed out.
There was, again, I think this will come back to episode 9, when Leighton finds out that the lass is pregnant. What's her name?
Zara.
It's a whole thing. She doesn't say it, but she takes his hand and puts it on her belly. That is so cliche and overdone and everything. Why can't you just say I'm pregnant? Nobody does that in real life.
No.
No.
I mean, that fetus is hardly developed enough for him to be able to sense anything through that.
Yeah. So that was a bit cheesy and a bit, Another thing, maybe it's not bad. It's just when they're coming through the door and, the sparks are flying and they're opening the door. And then when the door opens, there's nobody there. There's a big corridor, empty corridor, and the girl walking down. Where the fuck did those people go? How were they doing that? Who was doing that? She wasn't using her mind to open the door. That kind of got me a bit.
I think, like everything on the front of that train, it's all automated, isn't it? Because it all opens up and clamps on, and it's all just automated. It's just an automated train rape system that they've got on the front of Alice.
Yeah, I was just expecting to see like a couple of guys with like tools and that and opening the door, but
nah, all automated.
Well, that's fine then. But see, there you go. I thought there might have been a bit of a nitpick, a bit of a silly thing, but again, I was proven wrong. So there's nothing really bad.
I think we're going to get enough negatives in this episode of our podcast that we can just be positive. We can just suck Snowpiercer's dick all day long,
and I will happily do so because again,
this is a perfect series. Everyone should watch it.
Some performances maybe now and again. But I think everyone, in general, most people played their part spot on. Like, Daveed Diggs is amazing in this.
He is, isn't he?
From start to finish. He gets Leighton.
I really don't want him to go anywhere. Because I worry about... I think this series would be good with the cast that they have anyway, no matter what happens. They could kill people off. But I think I may lose interest if certain characters were to go. So, unlike other series like with Ruth, your antagonist, I want to keep Ruth around.
I say, as much as we say fuck off every single episode and she does my head in, but I want her to turn up in every single episode and annoy me.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want, isn't it? I mean, the Folgers, LJ mentioned it earlier on in this episode, but the way that they play with these characters and the way that they move them around, they position everything so well, and it's so well crafted, this series.
Because one part of me, like I said, I don't think the Folgers and Nolan and that are going to be dead. I think they'll find a way of bringing them back. But at the same time, even though I just said there, I want Ruth to stay around. I want her to annoy me. I'm glad LJ's around because even though she's as fruity as a fruitcake, I hope the Folgers and that don't come back because I think we've got enough antagonist characters. And coming in, Wilford turn up again. I think it's a good idea. A good chance he's going to be one. There'll be plenty of new characters on that train to introduce us to. So
with losing those characters as well, I think what it does to the characters that remain has more of an impact. So killing off the Folgers, you have to see LJ deal with that loss.
Yeah.
You've got Ruth dealing with the loss of Nolan. You've got the entire train dealing with the fact that they don't have an army anymore. There's a lot of things that what they've done there could have an impact on in the future series. I kind of want that to stick. Like you say, I kind of want it to, every episode of season 2, I want to see start with 994 cars long. Or board Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Or add on the Alice ones or 1043 cars long or whatever. Pike, I could get rid of Pike. I don't like him.
Yeah. But again, I kind of like how at the end, when the door was opening, Pike was standing there with something. I don't know what he had, but he's like ready to fight. But you could tell he was shitting himself. But yeah, he is pure evil.
He's just useless. Like that's the thing. Like everyone's got some sort of agenda in this society, and he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm on a train. I want to sit about, eat cake, and fuck people.
But again, though, the way he does it in how he just takes over LJ's quarters and that.
One thing I'll mention about this is I like the way they show the freedom that everyone's got now. And they show both sides of it. At the beginning of this episode, it's like everyone's free, and there's like sex happening, and there's brothels going on, and there's people that are very upset about this because people aren't where they should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's broken. And it looks a bit chaotic. It made me feel a bit uneasy. I'm like, this was all nicely segmented, this. We've spent all these weeks looking at each compartment, and now it's all messy. So, do you have anything, so before we move on, do you want to sum up anything about this series, about this episode or anything? Or?
I know I said at the start of this, I was kind of like, yeah, I'll keep watching it for this. And then straight away, it just built up and built up and built up. And it is, I wish I could be try and be a bit, level-headed and a bit sort of negative and positive and give a bit of, but there's not a lot of negative. I'm sorry, there's not. And it's just, it's a very thoroughly enjoyable show, and I'm glad you suggested, because I was aware of it, but I wasn't really bothered about watching it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you suggested it, because it made me watch it, and I'm glad I did. I cannot wait to carry on watching it.
Cool. Aye, you're right. I mean, I want to watch season 2. The reason why I suggested watching this season 1 for the podcast was so that I could watch season 2. So we'll carry on watching it, and maybe we'll review the whole series. Maybe we'll call back in and say this is not worth it anymore. It's a load of rubbish. But maybe it'll drop off a cliff season 2, because things do.
Yeah.
But I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this week to week. Watching this for the second time as well. You'd think it might not be as interesting, but luckily I'd forgotten most of it. So I knew the big points and stuff, but watching it again, you just pick up more little bits, and you just enjoy seeing the strings a bit more as well, seeing how they're putting everything together, especially in doing a rapid refresh. That has morphed over these few weeks from a rough rambling about what was actually going on to me just trying to say silly things about various different points in the episode sort of thing. But it has made me try and pick through things a little bit differently and give me a different appreciation for the series. So I'm looking forward to doing it with Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
Yep.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The Falcon's Winter Soldier.
Both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone. If you've come on to watching Snowpiercer because of us and some reason you've listened to all of our spoilers for the last five episodes and gone, oh, you know what, I'm going to watch season 1 even though I know how it ends. And
But that's the thing, for me, I can find out things about films and stuff, and people might consider it a spoiler. But what's interesting is how they get there for me. So
next section. The best of the worst. Here we are. In this section, we look at a film that is generally regarded as not very good, and we try and find good things in it. This week, as we mentioned up top, we're doing a film that was suggested by Phil, one of our listeners. This is his second shout-out. He did text me today, say thanks for the shout-out in the last episode, so he's still listening, which is good. He reckons that we should have a go at Skyline. Now, I'd never seen it before. Sean, you had? Is that right?
I've seen it the year it came out, and I hadn't watched it since.
Cool. Probably a reason for that, was there?
We'll find out.
So just to let you know, this will be all spoilers from the top. Generally, people don't tend to care about spoilers in this section as much as they might do in other ones, because these are films that people might not want to watch as much as others. So for this one, again, we'll do a bit of a synopsis. Getting into this one, I tend to always just buy the DVD because they don't cost very much in this section. So again, I went onto eBay, £1.20, bought the DVD. Turns out it's on Netflix, didn't need to do that. However, I did get some DVD extras on this, which were quite interesting. So there was a deleted scene in this one. I just want to mention this up top, because I think this kind of sort of explains things quite well in just a few lines of dialogue that they back and forward. So the scene is entitled Oliver's Backstory. And it does not give Oliver a backstory in the slightest. One of the two characters having a discussion, it's Jared and Oliver. One of them says, "What are they?" The other one responds, "Does it even matter?" The other one responds, "It doesn't even seem real." End scene. I think that's quite good. That's pretty much, they should have left that in the film. Or that should have been the trailer.
Yeah, just that.
So yeah, aye. So this film then. So synopsis. Do you want to have a bash at this, Sean, for a synopsis, or will I do?
I mean, I'll give it a bash, but you know, like, it's a good job we're all kind of spoilers in this, because it's hard not.
Yeah, because without spoilers, this is nothing.
Yeah, alien invasion, pretty much. Jared and his missus, I cannot remember her name, Elaine.
Yeah.
They're on their way somewhere. We don't really know where and or why. We'll get it's a bit of a reunion. Jared and his old schoolmate have a bit of a party, a very indulgent LA lifestyle. Wake up with this beaming blue light coming through. What the fuck is this? One guy happens to vanish and disappear. The skin turns all weird when they look into the light. It's aliens taking people, and we'll figure out why at the end, but it's weird. We don't really know why. Something to do with brains. It's. I wish I could give you a more sort of articulated way of. But that's it.
Yeah,
it's people who are not really likable.
I remember seeing. Yeah, I know. Like, it would be nice if the people weren't horrible specimens of humans, wouldn't it? It'd be good. I remember seeing the trailer for this, and again thinking I might go and see it, and because it looked like an Independence Day thing. So yeah, I thought I might give it a go. It might have actually been better to see in a cinema, because one thing that I do think about this is good is the VFX.
Yeah, definitely.
For the budget that they had, they've done really well with this.
Most of the budget went on it. went on the visual effects. So yeah.
Well, that's it. What they've spent the money on shows through, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say thank you to Phil for is I looked at the back of the DVD when it came, and an 88-minute runtime. Can't beat that.
Well, because when I watched it last time, I was trying to think, because what was it, 2010 it came out? Yeah, but 10, 11 years ago, and I was like, I remember it just seeming so long. Like, I just felt like it dragged on and on. And when I put it up on Netflix, I saw it was only, whatever it was, 88 minutes. I was like, oh, maybe. I wonder why it felt like it dragged. And I get it. I get why it felt like it dragged. I'm not a fan of the film, I'll be honest with you.
Me neither.
But I was able to pull out some positives. Like you said, the visual effects, spot on. The look of the creatures, the big mothership, the little tiny ones.
Yeah.
The sound effects that they make, quite creepy sounds. The deaths that they cause, quite creepy. You know, just picking them up and like pushing them into the little hole in their hand type things.
I think it would be good if each one of because the designs were really cool and the visual effects looked really cool.
Yeah.
I think if we had a bit more context about what the function of each one was.
Yeah, I mean, I like the opening scene because obviously it starts off when they're in LA, they wake up, and then it's a flashback. They're on the plane, and I like how when you end up where the first scene was. So when you go through the flashback and you end up back to where it was at the start, you've seen it from different perspectives. So you've seen it from, I'll call him Turk from Scrubs.
Yeah, I didn't realise, because I didn't watch Scrubs, but he's a Scrubs, isn't he?
Yeah.
See the one they refer to as Black
Scrub.
Scrubs in Family Guy?
Yeah. So you've got him and his missus, you've got the other guy and his assistant, Turk's assistant. So you're seeing all the different aspects of where it builds up to, so it starts to make sense to you. And I like how they did that. That was a good way of doing it. I think it was a believable friendship between Jared and Terry. So Turk.
What was Jared there for? Was it robots? I'm sure they said robots at one point, but he's an artist.
Yeah.
They were like, "Going to get you a job in LA doing whatever it is you do."
That's what I've questioned here. It's like, why is Terry so wealthy? And I think it's just because he does special effects in LA. But I doubt everybody's that, unless it's his own company. But they don't really say that. He just happens to be minted and he works in effects.
That said, here's a little Billy's Trivia Corner. My jingle's not as good. But they filmed it in the director's apartment.
You've nicked one of my trivias.
I
don't have a lot for this film as it is.
Sorry. Well, the reason I got it because I started watching it with the director's commentary on again after I was writing notes. I thought, I'll bung that on and see what they've got to say about it. And it was quite interesting. I won't do any more trivia
You've probably got
just in case I ruin it all for you. But yeah, they filmed it in the director's apartment, so I suppose it is quite a believable thing that people with that certain amount of wealth might live in a place like this. And I did wonder what a condo was.
Yeah.
Do you know what a condo is?
I've heard that word mentioned lots of times, and I've...
Quick Google. I just thought it was what wankers called flats.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It isn't. I thought it was what rich wankers... A condo was short for condominium. Privately owned individual unit within a building of other units. Condo owners jointly share common areas such as pools, garages, elevators, hallways, and gyms.
Right. So they own the flat in the block pretty much, but everything else is shared.
So it is a wanker flat, I think, is what it is, isn't it? Sorry if you live in a wanker flat.
But Terry mentions he's got a yacht, and he's paid Jared and Elaine to come over. And his pal Ray is just a creepy twat. He's just he's a stereotypical.
Oh yeah, his mate.
Yeah, what you'd expect a Hollywood type of guy to be, like a bad stereotype of a Hollywood guy, and he is that.
See, I thought that with the party as well. I thought, is this actually what LA parties are like? Because to me, it felt like a party written by someone who'd never been to a party.
Right? Yeah.
And like a lot of this film felt like it had been written by people who'd only observed humans from the outside. They'd never actually had a conversation.
What I was trying to figure out, the telescope thing they've got, is that recorded? Is that a camera?
It's transmitted to the TV. They actually say that in the director's commentary. They say, we put that scene at the beginning, perving on that guy getting a blowjob.
Yeah.
They react stupidly to that.
Well, I've put that down there, yeah.
But they put that scene there so that you know that when Jared's watching the action outside on the TV later on, that you understand how that works. It took me a while to figure out later on how that worked. Because I'm like, why is he watching it on the telly? And then I remembered, because they can't look at the lights outside because the faces will turn funny. Got it, yeah.
Because I put that down because I was writing it down and I realised as I was writing it, like, when he's watching the TV, I was thinking, well, that news report is not filmed like a news report. It's filmed like a film. What's going on here? But then I realised, wait a minute, that's the telescope. I get it. I get the recording on the telescope. But yeah, I've put the reaction when they find out the guy's actually getting a blowjob from another guy. It's a very homophobic reaction.
There's a bit in it, yeah. I mean, well, why are you watching a guy getting a blowjob anyway?
Well, either way, it's creepy. But they're like, oh, yeah.
I never want to live in a wanker flat if that's what you do.
Yeah. I just find it how they're like, oh, yeah, go on. And then another guy pops up, they're like, Arr! And it's like, all right, calm down.
And the other thing I got was the action is coherent.
Right, yeah.
That's not always the case in these action films that people don't like. So they have spent money on the VFX, they've spent money on the action. They only made it for $10 million, which is no money.
Again, a bit of my trivia, but I might as well just...
Sorry. Let's do your trivia corner before I spoil everything, Sean.
Let's go for it.
Sean's Trivia Corner.
Right. So, yeah, I've got here that it cost only $5,000 just for the film, but then $10 million for all the effects. So
Really?
yeah, according to IMDb. So it's just 500,000 for the film itself minus the effects, and it made 66 million worldwide. So it maybe made a little bit of a profit when you factor, market and all that. So
yeah, it's got made money. Yeah.
It was completely financed by the brothers who made it.
Yes, yeah.
And Colin Strauss. And one thing is you get like the Russo brothers, Well, now it's the Wachowski siblings, the brothers Strauss, and it's just kind of like, like you said, it was made in Greg Strauss's condo building. Sony, even though Sony had nothing to do with the film, Sony took legal action against the brothers, and I think it's pronounced Hydraulics. Hydraulic X, the visual effects company. They hired the same company to do the visual effects on Battle LA.
Okay.
The visual effects company didn't tell Sony that they were working on a rival project. But so obviously Sony was like, they're very similar kind of films. I've never seen Battle LA.
It's another one of these, isn't it?
Yeah. So Sony weren't happy that they were working on pretty much the same film, but the case was dropped. It was supposed to be a series of films.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work, but on Netflix, there's 2 more Skyline films.
There are, yeah.
I think they're done by different people. I think the Strauss brothers are producers.
They are involved, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's Beyond Skyline, which came out in 2017, and Skylines, which came out last year. Neither of the director, so Colin or Greg, have directed anything since.
No. They say that in the commentary, though, they weren't planning on getting into directing. They wanted to go into producing, but they directed this film to give them experience, didn't they? So
yeah, but they have produced like other films since Skyline. But they've worked on visual effects on a lot of films that everybody will know. Mm-hmm. So Rampage, that The Rock was in.
Yeah.
The most recent Baywatch film, X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Days of Future Past, Skyfall, Avengers, Avatar, and last week's Best of the Worst. And they also did visual effects on Stranger Things. So in the visual effects world,
yeah, I think
they're sitting pretty.
As a portfolio of look at what we can do with visual effects, this is a fine thing to show to anyone you want to get a job with.
Exactly.
As a we can direct actors in a way, this is not such a good example.
But if that's, like you said, if that's not what they really want to do, then
no.
They had an idea for this film. That's probably the only way they were going to get to do it. Mm-hmm. Stick their own money in it, direct it themselves. I didn't find the character Terry, very likable. His death was still like, fucking hell. It was still a bit like, I wasn't expecting it. I would have thought that would have been one of your general sort of stereotypical happens at the end film.
I missed it again. It was one of those ones. It was a Courtney thing when I looked away from the telly and I'm like, where'd that guy go? Like, he must have died.
Because it was obviously gets stamped on by an alien in the car with his mistress.
That's right, yeah. I thought he was shaken out. I thought he got away from that, yeah.
He falls out, he runs away. Jared grabs him and tries to pull him back, but then the sucker thing comes on his head, pulls him away.
I love it when a sucker thing comes on someone's head.
But again, though, he wasn't a likable character, but his death was still a bit shocking.
Yeah.
His missus wasn't very likable. There was nothing really to her.
Yeah.
And the only kind of person I did I think had a bit of nuance was Elaine.
Right.
Or Lainey, as she gets referred to in the film, Jared's girlfriend. She seemed a bit, and obviously the pregnancy, that just seemed a bit, it was there.
It seemed like it was there to make the final scene work, didn't it, I think?
Well, yeah.
Because and there was a lot of smoking in this film. There was a lot of things about smoking. I've actually written down in my notes that in the previs, there's a stage direction. Oliver puts out his cigarette and goes to the bathroom. So they didn't actually previs that bit. They were like, well, we don't need to spend money prevising that. We'll just do the alien stuff. But they put that on the stage direction for the previs. I'm like, what? When you mentioned
his name before, I was trying to think, who is that? I don't think they mentioned his name in the film.
Oliver, no, I don't think they did mention his film. I only know it from those extra features, like who that guy is. Yeah. Oliver's backstory. There's absolutely no backstory to that at all.
He seemed a bit like an aggressive type for no reason. I know it was a serious situation.
Too much, wasn't he? Yeah, I did write that
He
down.
just hated Jared, and it was just like, calm down, mate. It's all right. I know it's a bit of a scary situation, and it's a bit,
I thought the ending set up an interesting concept, and I thought it does that thing that a lot of these type of sci-fi films do, where they bring something really interesting at the end. You're like, well, if I'd known that the film was about that throughout the film, I may have been more engaged.
Yeah.
Like, if I knew they were after brains, then maybe I would have been more interested, but I don't know.
Because I was thinking, why are they doing this? But then, obviously, when I found out a bit of trivia how it was planned to be the first in a series of films, I'm guessing we were going to find out.
I'm guessing, you would do it. I mean, if they were like, right, this is a film, and then the next one is it opens up the world and things like that. And I suppose, like, in that respect, a sequel may be interesting to see if they've got different directors in.
Yeah.
I might want to go back to Netflix because that means it's free.
Yeah.
and the Netflix, I think, might be the home for that type of sci-fi.
Definitely.
That low-budget thing where you just want to turn your brain off and have a bit of fun. It's like a slasher movie, isn't it? Only with aliens and stuff and good VFX. Yeah. So there is a market for this type of film.
Definitely. And I think what I did like about it as well is I like the aliens were scary.
Yeah.
Because they were relentless and they were unstoppable. So the world's going to be fucked because there was nothing, because they nuke them and then it's like they keep going. I
was writing in my notes, where the fuck are the military? And just as I typed the M of military, that's when the drones came in. I'm like, oh, they've timed that perfectly, haven't they, in this film? Well done. Well done, the Strauss brothers. We'll have a bit of applause for you there, because you've answered my question immediately. I did write down Groot as well. Just because I thought one of them looked like Groot when they were coming out the car park on the way to the yacht. I was like, oh, that looks like a Groot thing.
Because they kind of touch on that a bit as well, how like they realise they're not going over water, but then they can't get to the water where they might be safe.
Right, aye.
Again, it doesn't really touch on, but then I don't know if it needs to, because that could have been explored in the follow-up.
It could have been, but they didn't have the money to go to the water, so it was probably pointless bringing that up, wasn't it? It was like, oh, they can't get over the water, we should get to the water. That's enough of a thing to just throw out there and go, well, we haven't got the budget to go there, so that's fine. I didn't think that it felt like it was like written by a teenager. It was just that thing. I don't know what it was. It was just that the dialogue seemed like it was just written by people who hadn't really written things before. And I know writing's not easy, and I can't do it. Sitting staring at a blank page, it's not an easy thing to do.
I quickly looked at the person who wrote it, but I didn't actually look to see if they'd done much before it. Again, if you look at the budget they had and stuff, maybe the writer was a bit inexperienced at the time, because maybe that's what they could afford.
Yeah, and I mean, they got a lot of... here, another bit of trivia for you. They got... I'd written down as a negative, it feels like it's an American Pie soundtrack at the beginning.
I've got to hear, I hated the opening credits, but I don't know why. And now that you've
I think it was like the flyover sort of like... It was that Jared Leto song. But apparently the Jared Leto were giving them that song for nothing because they were making a film. They're like, we haven't got any money, Jared Leto. Can we use your 30 Seconds to Mars song? And he was like, yeah, why not?
Here's one for you. One of the writers, he works in visual effects as well. He'd written something that it's listed before Skyline, but it's not got a date next to it. It's called Chimera. And then he's written...
Chimera.
Well, he's just written Skyline, and he's credited as based on characters by for Skyline and Skylines Beyond Skyline. And the other writer, his name is Joshua Cordes. And the other one, Liam O'Donnell, he's mainly a producer. And again, nothing before Skyline. So they were very, this was the first thing that those guys have both written, so...
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it's forgivable, I think. It's a combination of things, isn't it? It's a combination of the actors that they got, I don't think were very good. The writing wasn't great, but they did good VFX and stuff like that. The score, I think, was quite good. Matthew Morgenstern was the guy who wrote the score. Right. He had a bunch of other films. I won't list them off, but he's done a load of other sort of similar style of films, genre sci-fi films and things like that. I think Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, things like that, and it was good. I mean, it served the purpose. The directors used that well, I think. The score was well written, used it well.
Well, that's the thing, because it kind of does make you ask the question, if they've ended up financing this film themselves, is it just because they wanted to do it, or because nobody would pick it up?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of thing you've got to ask. But at the end of the day, I've made little short films and stuff that took me ages and stressed me out, and they were no longer than, I think the longest one I made was about 20 minutes. So, and so hats off, you've done a looks quite big budget, but like you said, they've spent the money well. Yeah. 10 million on the visual effects alone, 500,000 on everything else that to do.
That's it, yeah. Film it in your own house.
I think, like I said, the writers, producers, and visual effects people, the directors are mainly visual effects people, so they've worked with people who they know. Yeah. I'm guessing they've got people they know to work on this film. Yeah, they've made a film, and I mean, it visually looks good. It's a good looking film, but I mean, the story, the concept is a good cracking concept.
Because it does something a bit different, because I thought it looked like Independence Day, like, all right, aliens coming down sort of thing, but no, it's aliens, we don't know why they're here or what they want. And then it turns out they want brains, and then they put the brains into these sort of what are they? And sometimes if you're Jared, you can keep a bit of your...
His brain was orange and everybody else's brain was white or blue.
See, I'm colourblind, so I'm like, that looks a different colour.
Right. Yeah, it was orange. I don't know why though, but maybe just to show that that's Jared's brain. So it's like,
I think it was because he managed to resist them.
Well, yeah,
so they were putting they needed brains to put into those things so that they worked, but then he kept his cognitive abilities. I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
What a weird thing though.
Strange. His Laney's there, and obviously I think there's another pregnant woman. Very briefly, she's like, "Oh no, my baby," and then they do something with the pregnant women. But he realises, and he obviously stands up. He's got his little superhero moment at the end when he's going to fight off all the other ones. And he touched her face like he did.
He just runs his finger down his claw down her nose.
But I've got written down here as well that I do like how the heroes in this, like, for want of a better phrase, in this film, like you mentioned, like Independence Day there, you've got military who are heroes, you've got scientists who are heroes. And this one is just regular people are heroes, are quote unquote heroes. So I like that aspect. It's just a bunch of people at a party. They're trying to escape. That's it. They've got no special skills. They've got
it could have been a lot worse. I mean, like if this had been like a Cloverfield shaky cam thing, I would have hated it. When the lights are shining in through the window, and Jared's missus wakes up and she goes, "Oh, is it morning already?" It's like, that's not what morning looks like, love. Have you not seen a morning before?
I think they've said they're from New York as well. What kind of fucking mornings do you have in New York?
Maybe they've never been to LA. They're like, oh, fucking LA mornings, they're so bright and they turn your face all weird. So yeah, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I've probably enjoyed this conversation more than watching the film once again, like we generally tend to do, because we sort of pick up on things. And the Waffle Award, have you got any ideas for that?
Visual effects. That's pretty much it.
Oh, VFX, or I've also got being respectful to your neighbours, because when that guy comes and asks them to be quiet and turn it down, they do. They just go to bed. That's the end of the party. But yeah, so in summary for me, this was fine. I don't really want to see any more. If I want to watch another 88-minute film or something like that, and I want to move out of bed, maybe Beyond Skyline or Skylines might be an interesting watch. And if it does take things forward with whatever these things are, then maybe.
To me, yeah, fine. I mean, I enjoyed it more the second time, maybe because I'm paying attention to it. For whatever reason, I just remembered hating it the first time.
That is the thing, when you go into a film knowing that it's generally going to be bad, and you're trying to find good things about it, I think it's quite an interesting way to watch these films, to be fair.
There's good things to come away from it.
Cool. Next section?
Definitely. Yep.
Get your tips out for the pod. Here we are then, time for us to get our tips out. We're going to get them out, shake them in each other's faces, and let's see what we each think of each other's tips.
Yes, it's a good job nobody can see this.
Last week we both gave each other a Netflix, which was nice.
Yeah.
Two very different things though. I asked Sean to watch Babyteeth, starring Eliza Scanlon, and Sean asked me to watch Beyond the Mat, which is a wrestling documentary. So, who's going first with this one, Sean?
I really want to know what you thought of Beyond the Mat. I really do.
Well, I might have watched this before, or I've definitely seen some of the footage before. I think the Mick Foley footage in his house with his wife and, that thing with the rock and all that sort of thing. I've either seen that, or it's been used in another documentary further down the line somewhere. But it was interesting. It was about wrestling. It wasn't. I don't think anything was really sort of surprising, but it was a well-made documentary. Loads of characters, which, I watched an interview with, or a roundtable discussion with documentary filmmakers for the Oscars and stuff like that. And Michael Moore was on there, and he was saying, we're the same as any other filmmaker. We tell a story, and as with every film, the story is told in the editing room. So documentaries aren't just relaying facts to you.
Yeah.
They are presenting something in a certain way. And I think you touched on it last week when you said, this was well received by a lot of people. It was illuminating, and the wrestlers didn't like it. Because it does take a stance on the issue, whether or not, you agree with that. So I found it quite interesting. I'll go through some sort of things that I mentioned, I was picked up as I was going through. That fat-ass producer is a real Tiger King piece of shit, is he not?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know a lot about him. I don't think that exists anymore, that company.
Right. It shouldn't. I mean, do you think you'll get paid tonight? No, we don't really do it for the money. We do it because we want to get into the WWF, and then they go to the WWF, will you have us? Nah, not really. We don't really do that. Brilliant. So it was. It did show the really awful side of this thing, and I sort of skipped to the end. It seems to be a terrible business and should be stopped. And why would anyone support this? But then also, I support the meat industry, and I probably support questionable labour practices by some of the things that I buy. You can't do anything without supporting something that might be terrible. So you're not responsible for something that you like being set up in this way. So I talked myself around as I was writing my notes on this.
Well, that's the thing, because obviously it is from 1999, so it is out of date in that sense. There's a lot more things being brought in, practices and stuff like that. One thing I just wanted to get your opinion on, as someone who's not a wrestling fan, was did it sort of make you think differently? Not maybe want to go and start watching it, but did you was anything that you found out about it that you didn't know, or anything like that, or anything kind of stood out to you in that sense?
No, not really. I mean, if anything, it made me want to watch wrestling less. Essentially what it was it reminded me of what I don't like about wrestling. It is that the stakes aren't anything to do with the show. So I'm not really hugely into sports, but I can imagine if I wasn't into sports, it'd be because it's two teams or whatever, or two people facing off against each other to try and better themselves or to try and win at a competition sort of thing. Whereas this isn't that. So it hasn't got the intrigue of sports, and the type of show it is just an over-the-top sort of theatrics thing that doesn't really interest me either. So there's nothing in it that interests me about wrestling, so this sort of just highlighted that.
Yeah.
I did find it quite funny when Mick Foley said, sorry, you were going to say something about that, were you?
No,
When Mick Foley said, I want to be able to retire at 35/36. Motherfucker, you look 50 now.
Do you know what it is? He doesn't wrestle anymore. He keeps going till about 2010.
Really?
So there's this joke about how retirement in wrestling doesn't exist. Terry Funk.
His knees were shot 20 years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, and he's still at it.
Well, the thing is with that as well, I mean, if you were actually that shot and you were sort of that medically knackered and stuff like that in 1997, then you wouldn't be able to continue on doing a sport for another 30 years, would you? So it's clearly not as bad as they're making it out to be.
But a lot of the time it is, though. But that's the thing, though, because for some people, they just can't give it up. And it kind of shows you, and obviously we talked about how Jake the Snake Roberts story in this kind of inspired the wrestler.
Yeah, and I get that, and it just seemed a bit sort of gratuitous following him around. So I'm like, this guy's just fucked, isn't he? Just get a job. I know maybe that's that he can't think of another job to do because that's what he knows or whatever.
And Jake the Snake sorted himself out, and like I said, he's back in the business now. He's obviously a lot older, but he's not wrestling, but he's still in it. And yeah, I thought it would be interesting to get your sort of view on it as a non-fan. But
was it interesting? Or
Well, definitely, yeah, because I thought you might have maybe a one way or another way, but it's actually quite interesting that it hasn't changed your opinion in any way. And I get your sort of thought on it. It's like, yeah, it's not sport and it's over the top entertainment.
It's a little bit like the Snyder Cut, I suppose. I mean, it's like it's what
Yeah,
depends on what you didn't like about the Justice League one. You know,
yeah,
depending on what you didn't like about Joss Whedon's version. The things I didn't like about wrestling are still the things I don't like about wrestling, sort of thing. So they're still there in wrestling, regardless of this documentary. So
What's weird for me is when I was younger, I like the stuff that right now you're not meant to like. Like I used to like silliness and stuff like that back in the day and the stupid storylines. And now
right.
I look back going, why did I like that? Something, but I was a kid. I
Mhm.
appreciate more is to a lot of people it doesn't make sense. And to me it doesn't really make sense what they put their bodies through. Like you said, they're not getting anything at the end of it. It's not an actual sporting competition. They just love and entertain the fans, and that's one way they do it. And for me, I couldn't put my body through that to entertain because, like people, like that's one thing I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people understand is just how physically demanding
I
wrestling
mean, I
is.
can imagine there's enjoyment to it. People enjoy all kinds of different things. So
They don't do stuff now like they don't. A lot of times, people now don't cut their heads open. Well, it still happens. I think it doesn't happen as much. WWE don't like it. You might have heard of Brock Lesnar. He
nope.
was a UFC fighter as well. Anyway, he had a match where he opened somebody the hard way. So pretty much he just stuck his elbow into this wrestler Randy Orton's head until his head opened up. They both got in trouble. They wanted to make it look legit and make him look like a threat. So he just sticking his elbow until he cut his head open. So to me, I don't get it. I couldn't do that. I like
Mhm.
watching wrestling. I didn't quite like that. What I appreciate more of it now is the effort that they put in, the performance, and what they do just to entertain fans. And I appreciate that. I don't get it. I couldn't do it myself, but
Yeah, you can equate it to the film industry, can't you? You know, I mean,
yeah,
not everyone is Rock the Dwayne's Johnson.
yeah,
So, but he earns the big money, and he did in wrestling.
yeah,
And some people are turning up for films and getting a day rate,
yeah,
which you can't live on. Or some people are doing extra work, which you can't live on.
yeah.
You know, you can't even scrape by a living on some of those things.
No,
You know, you have to subsidize your income with other jobs.
yeah,
Whereas Dwayne The Rock Johnson is doing this. And it's almost like, you know, there's a lot of arts like that.
yeah,
You know, if you class this as a performance, then it's just like any other arts thing.
yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
you can do it as a hobby, but
Yeah,
you need to have a job as well. So it's like when they were saying about that guy, like, oh, this guy, I can't remember what he did, working at an accounting firm or something like that. He works at an accounting firm, but he likes to wrestle. It's like, yeah, loads of people have hobbies. I don't really understand why you're making an issue out of
yeah,
this. You know, it just so happens that this guy's hobby is wrestling. Lots of people have athletic hobbies that you train
yeah,
for and things like that. Not
yeah,
everyone who runs wants to compete in the Olympics. I mean, I know those particular guys were trying out for the WWF, but not everyone can be Rock the Dwayne's Johnson, can they? You know, and then just it was almost as if this documentary forgot that.
right, yeah. Well, because I think even though this guy who made it loves wrestling, there is sort of that thing. It's like they just have a normal job, but then
Mm-hmm.
he wants to do this, and then he's running around in his underpants, chucking people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, I suppose. But the two guys who were in that, you said that dodgy, that dodgy producers company, those two
Aye.
did go on to wrestle for WWF back then for a while. But the guy who was auditioning, he was an American football player, and he can like puke on command. So Vince McMahon's like, "We're going to call you Puke."
Yeah, it was just fucking weird.
Well, what happened was he did wrestle for WWF for a
Uh-huh.
while, but he actually ended up getting paralyzed in the ring.
Oh, I think that's in the documentary. I think they
Yeah,
mentioned
they
that, didn't it?
touch on that, but yeah, so it's a dangerous game. But yeah, it's. Well, I'm glad you watched it anyway. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you know that's what I said. I find fascinating that didn't change your opinion one way or another. So
No, like I say, I think I might have already watched this documentary anyway, and it did nothing surprise me about it. So I was just like, well, yeah, I would say you'll have to try again, but I just don't. I'm not interested in wrestling. So what did you think of Babyteeth then?
I don't think I liked it as much as you seem to like it,
Right?
but it's a brilliant film. I mean, it's great, but
Uh-huh.
it's for me, it's not a rewatchable one.
No,
It's
I don't think I could watch it again. No.
but I mean, one thing I appreciated more than anything about this film was the performances
Uh-huh.
from everybody. You mentioned how your mom kind of thought she might not watch it after 20 minutes or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I kind of got that, but
Right.
as it went on, I just couldn't stop watching. Like I said to you, I couldn't make a lot of notes because I couldn't take my eyes off it. Like, everyone's performance was amazing. Obviously, you mentioned Ben Mendelsohn. I think it's the best I've seen him. Even though
Right.
it's not one of those roles that it's not a screaming big performance role.
No, he doesn't get to do much acting, does he?
No, but when he does it, it kicks in. Which works because obviously the mother character, Anna, played by Essie Davis, hers is a big screamy role, so it's obviously there's a juxtaposition there. So
the thing I find interesting about him was how he was the one that was holding it down, and he was completely stoic throughout.
Yeah.
You know, by the way, watch this and then come back and listen to this because we may spoil things for you. You want to go into this knowing nothing, don't you? So...
Yes, exactly. So yeah, listen, because we'll have to spoil bits because it's the nature of the film. But yeah, I like. Obviously, it's great that he's a psychiatrist, and everybody clearly could do with those services, and everybody needs a bit of help in this film. And he is kind of holding it down throughout because it's kind of his job. But you can tell as the film goes on, it's wearing on him. How obviously he strays a little bit with the neighbour.
Yeah.
I love how her dog's called Henry, and he keeps staring at her when she's shouting.
Henry! That's brilliant. He's sort of lost, though, isn't he? I think is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's because he's got everyone's troubles on his shoulders, and no one's listening to his. And I think it's obviously it's weighing on them. Performance, obviously, I think Ben Mendelsohn was awesome in this, but the guy who played Moses, Toby Wallace.
Yeah.
I thought he was phenomenal. I've never seen him in anything.
He's a complete unknown. I think she just plucked him off the street, that guy. So
I mean, he's done a couple of things in Australia, but nothing like big. Hopefully, more people will see this, and then because I think he was great in this. Because he's a character you're meant to have a certain idea of.
Right.
He's covered in tattoos. He sells drugs. He's clearly not a good egg. But for what obviously you would kind of hear that he's with Miller just to get her drugs, basically. He's there for a reason, but you can tell he does have a soft spot for her straight away.
Yeah, just like on the train station where she gives him all the money. He's like, I can't. This is too much money. Like I can't take it.
Yeah.
He sort of has a heart of gold, but he's just his circumstances have led him into some horrible things, and he's the way he acts isn't necessarily great, is it, towards other people? But
you can tell he does when he starts to really care for her. And again, from the off, the mother is just broken. And we know that because she's on lots of medication and stuff. And I thought, if anything, the mum was going to try it on with Moses at one point.
Right,
Moses is on the couch and the mother comes in. I looked away at one point for whatever reason. I looked back, she's under the piano, and I didn't quite know what happened there.
I'm not entirely sure I remember that. I think it's possibly because playing is a big thing to them, isn't it? They end up playing and they play on a birthday and things like that. And there was things that I noticed about it more. So, like, when they were going to the music lessons, he sort of knew that she wasn't long for this world, maybe. So he was just letting her enjoy music rather than pushing her to do anything that she really didn't want to do. And Mum was kind of still pushing her to have a normal life and all that sort of stuff. And her dad just wanted her to be happy. All he wanted was happiness for whatever he could give her, sort of thing. Like,
and that's what I like, how even though they clearly didn't want her to be with Moses, but when he leaves Miller on the roof, pretty much nearly dies there. Henry tracks him down, he tackles him, and he's like, why did you leave her? And then he's like, you want to come and stay with us? But he realizes he doesn't care what he wants; it's what she wants. She's not got long left. She wants this guy in her life, even though he might be the wrong thing for her. And even though he hates the idea, he brings that kid into his house again. Yeah,
and the bit that really got me, that really cut me up, was just the very final scene where he tells her that we'll be okay,
Yeah.
And then the way they I can't remember the director's name.
Shannon Murphy,
yeah. It was just, it's perfectly done because he says that line to her, and it just sort of pans up and you see the waves.
Yeah.
And that's just sort of emptiness and stuff now. She's no longer there. She's no longer in the screen. She's no longer on the film, sort of thing. That's it. And that just fucking ended me because it was like, it feels like a really brave thing for a dad to say that to his daughter without breaking down himself, with full confidence to give her the confidence to go.
I like that scene because obviously when she does die, the bit when she asks him to smother her, in my head I was thinking, is this how it's going to end? She says to him, no matter what I do, don't give up. He gives up, he stops, and you could tell maybe for a split second she was like, I'm glad you stopped.
Yeah.
They end up spending the night together and stuff, and then the bit when she walks out, I couldn't quite figure that bit out. I don't know if that was like a dream sequence or not, or was...
The only thing I remember happen is that they have sex and then the mum and dad are having breakfast. I can't remember anything.
The way they played that, the parents are having breakfast, joking about, oh, do you think they're having sex? It's just people getting on with their lives and just having a normal conversation. It reminds you that, yeah, you might say things and then 2 seconds later your world's going to be turned upside down. But in films, that would have been a very somber build-up. They might have been having an argument. I like how they weren't. I like how they were just joking about...
They may have tried to telegraph it slightly or something, but no, not in this.
And it seems so real. And then again, I didn't quite get it. Obviously, it just shows Moses' character, how he's going to walk out and have a cigarette. He's not going to say what's happened.
No, he wants to smoke first, and
yeah, and then he watches the mother go to the bedroom, and you can tell his. That's why I loved his performance, because his face straight away, he was like, "I'm in shit here."
And she sort of feels robbed for that as well, because she has a go at him. That sort of got me a bit as well. You know, when she's raging at him, and it's sort of like, again, the reason why I tied it into WandaVision last week was, you know, she's lashing out at that moment. Everyone's hurting, and she's hurting Moses more. But it's because she's raging that she was robbed of the final moments of her daughter's life, and this piece of shit got to have it and not her.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like she says, like, you were the one that held her, you know, you got to be with her at the end, and it's like, and that's real. But what I loved about that as well, she lays into him physically as well as verbally, but he just holds her and he just cuddles her. I think that shows another layer of his character. I think he was my favourite character in this because he was so layered. Because he's visually to look at. He looks like a thug. He looks scary. He looks intimidating. He's covered in tattoos. He's even got one on his face. He's just, you know, but he has got a soft side, and he did love her.
And the thing with his mum as well, you know, you can see why his mum takes the attitude that she does towards him, because obviously they've been through some shit.
Yeah.
You know, he has just come round on the rob for drug money all the time, and she's got restraining orders. She can't have him there because she wants to protect her other son.
Yeah.
And you can totally see why she's taken the route that she has.
But I love the bit of the party as well, when they're playing that tune. But they just played this nice somber song together. They're playing really well. And then I was like, is she going into labour? And it's just like, again, it's just real. They could have played that song and they could have made it look really sentimental and really sort of like, oh, well done, guys, that was beautiful. And then have her go into labour.
But no,
she just stops playing. It's like, he's having a baby.
It's sort of a theme of this whole thing, isn't it? Just things happen in the middle of life.
Yeah.
One day in the middle of life, you'll stop living. Eventually, you know.
Yeah.
But one day in the middle of life, someone brings a new life into the world, things like that, you know. And, you know, one day in the middle of your life, you'll find out that your daughter's gone and you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
But you were expecting it. You've been expecting it for years or months or whatever, but you never expected it to happen now.
One thing I appreciate about this, they never say what illness she's gone through.
But the important thing about this is the people, isn't it? I just keep saying characters because it is characters, it's film, but it's the people and the relationships, isn't it? It's not the illness. The Babyteeth thing is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they just drop that in halfway through the film, like, bam. But I think she loses her last one before she dies, doesn't she?
Yeah. And obviously at the start, you see the teeth falling into the water in the glass. And she actually does that when it falls out. Because that's when it falls out after you smothered her.
That's right. Last one comes out. That's right. Yeah.
But again, obviously we've not mentioned her, like Eliza Scanlon. She is amazing in this as well. I've heard the name, and I went on her IMDb, and I can't think of anything that I've seen her in.
I think I've just heard her talked about just generally because when she's been in things, people are like, she's amazing in this.
Or I think her name's come forward a couple of times for other roles, I think.
Right, okay.
Yeah, honestly, good shout, though.
Yeah, okay, good.
Good shout. It is, like I said, I think I might have undersold it at the beginning. It is a great film. Again, I don't think I'll be, like, jumping to watch it again, but not in a bad sense. It's like, I'll never watch 12 Years a Slave again. Great film, but I don't need to see that again. You know?
I'm not entirely sure if Babyteeth's been tipped for any awards or anything, or nominated for any awards. I think it's nominated for Oscars, isn't it?
It's nominated for, give me 2 seconds.
Live Googling. Call this episode Live Googling.
It's nominated for Best Director for the BAFTA.
Okay.
Sharon Murphy. WACTA International Awards. It's nominated for a couple. Australian Academy of Cinema and Television. It won a lot. It won Best Actor for Toby
Right.
Wallace. Best actress for Liza Scanlon. Best supporting actor for Ben Mendelsohn. Best supporting actress for Essie Davis, it won. Best director, it won. Best films, I'm guessing the producer won that one. Best writing, Rita Calnier. I'm not going to try and pronounce her surname because I'll just butcher it. Best original score, it won. It won everything. It won best casting, and it was nominated for a boatload of others. So yeah, it won a lot of Australian Oscars.
I think it's deserving, though, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those things where I think the reason why I suggested it to you was because we often talk about different voices in films and female voices in films, and I think this is one of those examples where this wouldn't have been made without the particular voices involved, whoever they were, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those films where it's not the type of film that you get all the time. These type of films don't come along all the time.
Exactly. You know what this screams to me, because I read something online. It was just a meme or something, and it was something on the lines of, we're fed up of all these remakes or live remakes of animated classics. Then there was a picture of Emma Stone as Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, have this, yeah.
And it annoyed me because it's like, can we stop? Can we get some original films for a change? I think that was.
But we don't watch them. That's the problem.
More original films come out every year than remakes or sequels or
they do
reimaginings or whatever.
That's it, yeah.
But no one watches them. I can never remember the name of it, but it was a brilliant film a couple of years ago. Pretty much like a modern day western. Two brothers robbing banks to pay their mums.
Hell or High Water.
That's it.
That was my favourite film of that year. I love that. Yeah.
But like I said, these films don't get made all the time. But it's an original film with like you said, voices being heard and stuff like that. And it's obviously the writer and the producer and the director are all women. And it's about female characters. But at the end of the day, it's an important story and it's told well. And yeah, it deserved all them Australian Academy Awards, to be honest. But yeah,
cool. Next ones then?
Yep.
Right, then I've got a really quick one for you, so this should not take up any time at all. I don't know whether you know this at all, but I've got a BBC 4 podcast for you to listen to. This one's called, I'm going to give you a particular episode because I thought this might tie into some of your interests. I know you have a sort of interest in science. And this one, it's hosted by a scientist and a comedian, and they have guest scientists and comedians and entertainers on, sort of thing. This one ties into something that you're interested in. So, The Infinite Monkey Cage, have you heard of that?
I haven't.
Hosted by Professor Brian Cox and Robin Ince.
Oh, right.
So it's absolutely tons of series that goes back for ages. So if you get into it, there's loads for you to go back and listen to. The one I want you to listen to is "Does Time Exist?"
Right,
is the episode title. They basically tackle something about an area of science every week. They have on scientists in those fields to talk about it and a comedian for a bit of levity, sort of thing. So this one, the guest is Mark Gatiss.
Oh, nice.
So I thought you might like that because he ties in some sort of interesting things about time that he's worked on.
Yes.
And also he ties things into, there's a really interesting reference to a stage theatre production that he mentions. And I don't know whether you'd be aware of it or not, but I really want to see that play, even though he spoils it in this episode. So, yeah, have a shot at that episode of The Infinite Monkey Cage.
As soon as you said that, I am interested. I'm totally interested. I was just looking through some of the titles of Astronaut's Guide to Isolation and stuff like
that. Yeah, I thought about doing the astronaut one for you, but I thought no. Well, this time one really baffled my head because it's about the block universe theory of time. So
right, but yeah, I'm proper interested in that. I've probably found my new thing. Just looking at the titles of the episodes, I think I'm in. I love Professor Brian Cox. So
I think you like it. Yeah, I love it. Boom.
Brilliant.
What's yours?
Right.
What am I doing?
Well, like I said, I'm scared that you've heard of this thing. It's a band. I want you to listen to. Got 9 songs. You should be able to get through them. I'll send you the link on YouTube. They're called Dirty Honey.
I don't know that. No.
So yeah, they are a rock band. The class is hard rock / blues rock. They're influenced by Guns N' Roses, and I know your sort of musical style is quite varied. Your musical taste.
Yeah, I like all kinds of different things.
I know you've liked things from like you mentioned, obviously a couple weeks ago, Lucky Chops, to you used to have Slipknot posters on your wall, and you play in a band. So your musical tastes are very varied. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. But yeah, I will try and be quick. But it consists of singer Mark LaBelle, guitarist John Noto, bassist Justin Smolian, and drummer Corey Coverstone. the first unsigned band to top the Billboard rock charts. And I don't know if they're signed yet or not, even though I'm a fan of this band. But they formed in 2017, and a person, their friend who worked for Columbia Records, Mark Dadia, heard them playing the song When I'm Gone. And so he decided to become the manager, and he got them a gig for opening for Slash from Guns N' Roses fame in 2018. So within a year, they formed in 2017. They were opening for Slash in 2018. Their self-titled EP was self-released in March 2019. They toured all of 2019 for bands like Red Sun Rising, which I've never really heard of, The Who, Skillet, Alter Bridge, and Guns N' Roses on their Not In This Lifetime tour. They've only been around since 2017. They've done all that. There's 9 songs. I'll just quickly tell you what they're called. I'll send you links to them. So there's Rolling Sevens, Heartbreaker, Down the Road, Scars, Break You, California Dreamin', which is the newest song, Last Child, and Fire Away. This guy's voice is amazing.
Right.
I'm just going to say it flat out. I can see myself sitting in a dark, smoky American bar nursing a JD.
Right.
Yeah, there's one of those songs that annoys me though because I can't sing along because he's got one of those really high rocky voices, kind of like Axl Rose kind of voice. Ties in a little bit because their song When I'm Gone was a theme song for a wrestling pay-per-view from a couple of years ago, and that's when I heard it. I was like, I like that song. What is that song? And then it's this event sponsored by the song When I'm Gone from Dirty Honey. I was like, I'm going to find them. And at the time, they only had 6 songs.
It's great how you come across bands, or I quite often hear something in a TV series, and I'm like, that's good. What's that? And then you Google it. You could never do this years ago. Yeah. You hear something in a TV show 20 years ago, you're like, well, never hear that again.
Yeah. Or if you heard it in a film, you have to sit through the credits just to see the song. What is that song? Me and my brother do that a lot. I'll watch something and I'll be like, that's a cool song. And I'll be like, here, this song was on this program. And he's like, oh yeah, I know that. And you'll do the same thing. But I think you might appreciate it. So hopefully,
cool. Oh yeah, don't know them, so it's interesting, and it shouldn't be too much of a taxing thing to do this week. So that's a good. Cool. Is that the show then? Have we done it again?
I think that's it.
That's 5 episodes. We're halfway to 10, Sean. Hey! Thanks everyone for listening if you've got this far. Remember to like, share, tell all your friends, tell all your enemies, tell anyone. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at w.a.f.f.l.e.podd@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at Whitty Analysis of Feature Films and Light Entertainment, and you can find us on Twitter at Waffle Podcast 1. Our YouTube account is Waffle Podcast. And as we always say on this, I'm always naked. Goodbye. Zack Snyder, please stop. Stop with this. Enough now. Put the toys down and do something else. Is there anything else? Do you want to say something? You do one. I'll let it in. Do we have a quote from this? Leighton selecting for the Constitutional Convention.
Yeah, I like that one.
Tridents have 3 prongs. I'm always dressed. I'm always naked. You do one, Sean. Say a thing. Oh, one thing I didn't mention in the Snyder Cut is 10% of it is in slow motion.
I didn't know that, no. I can't think of anything, Billy.
Maybe that'll be it. Maybe I'll just I can't think of anything, Billy.
As we always say here, I can't think of anything, Billy. Right, I'm going to stop this. Can we pause while I go for a piss?